Oh yeah, when it shows up on the computer that we're on. It shows up. We're live.
What is up, everybody? How the heck are you tonight? I'm gonna be talking about probably one of the most important things that I think I've ever talked about before. Tonight, it's gonna be all about the new laceyact ban that's been introduced, passed through House, only has to get through Senate now. They tried to squeak it by us, but we're all standing up strong. We're going to fight this. And I think we are going to get through it. But in the case that we don't, there's going to be the repercussions of this. I can't even fathom right now. I mean, this wonderful Burmese right here will be the first one to go. I mean, not for me. Good luck. But, but it doesn't stop with the berms. Doesn't stop there. They want everything. So, waiting for our guests to show up. I know they'll be soon. Babe, will you call them too? Since the wife has the phone. We got some good guests coming in tonight. They're going to talk about this subject with us. I've been researching it all day. I got all sorts of tabs pulled up. Talking points I want to bring up, what it means, what they're trying to do. Don't twist up in the table, dude. It's pretty messed up. So basically, before we get all into detail, for those of you that have been hidden in the closet and haven't heard, they slipped in an amendment. Let me pull it up here. Amendment to Title 18.
Yeah.
laceyact amendment. And basically, let's see here. I'm trying to.
That's what it's supposed to be called. Legally.
So basically, what's going to happen is, if this passes, there's going to be two lists: a list of can't haves and a list of can haves. And the stuff that's on the can't have is not going to be able to be transferred across state lines. And it's pretty scary how it's written. I'm going to put him away. Everyone say bye. I'm going to put him away. We're going to go ahead and we're going to name this guy tonight. Had him for a long time. He's got a crazy story, but we're going to talk some fighting laws again, trying to steal our hobby. And what I don't understand about this is, in this case, nobody wins. I don't understand what the end game is here. Whoever introduced this, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if any of you guys caught Dave Kaufman's live earlier. They really explained it, what everything means, and it actually just scared me even worse. I just want everyone to know that, you need to spread the word about this for sure. Number one thing, email your senators. All the information is on usark's page. Be polite. The easiest way is just copy and paste what they got. Email that in. Do it now, and then in about a couple weeks, we're going to flood them again. So, all right, I'm going to read this here. Let's see.
I was going to kind of read it all and then sum it up.
Okay. Well, I read it earlier. Basically, I'm trying to look for the word that they actually used.
So this is actually really scary right here, is the notwithstanding of any other provision of law means that it can't be overridden.
Right. So prohibiting the importation of any species of wild animals, wild birds, fish, amphibians, reptiles, offspring, eggs. And then there's another section that also includes the captive born stuff. So basically anything that any state or wildlife agent deems injurious, that could be considered injurious, which can mean anything. The wording is so vague. Basically, they could put any animal on this list in any state for any reason, and then we're no longer allowed to cross state lines. anymore, or you would be considered a criminal. And they tried to sneak it through the back door, which means they weren't even going to let us know about this. So people would have been committing a federal crime unknowingly, which is the scariest part of all this. You want to run up and have Mom call Lori? See if Sean. I know he had to go pick up his daughter, so he might not be back. There's Max. Max is going to be able to explain it. What's up, Connor? I have some people coming on tonight. They're going to be able to explain it a lot better than me. I understand it, but I've been wrapping. What I don't understand is we've been digging through here, trying to figure out where it actually started. Which one is that on there, Justice? Is it this one?
What?
Or no?
That's actually this, which is like really, it goes through all the House representatives that voted for and against it. I went through all of that.
Did you lose that?
I didn't X out of anything.
Let's see. I'm trying to find who actually proposed it.
Oh yeah, it's Mr. Rubio.
Mr. Rubio.
So my
What's up, Benji?
digging have found that it's Republican Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio. What was my diggings for what Mr. Rubio means?
And Mr. Schatz.
Florida Republican Senator is what my best guess is.
So the best that we can find from that is Florida Republican Senator. And I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish here if they do get this to go through, because yeah, exactly. I don't understand what they're trying to do here. What they're trying to accomplish. Like, if they pass this, like, who benefits? I mean, yeah, no, so they did, Grim. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you pulled that up. I'll pop that up for anyone. They absolutely, I think it was actually a little bit later than, they've tried this a couple times, Grim. And believe it or not, there's a guy that the old school people know, but a lot of the new school people don't know. His name is Lee Watson. Lee Watson actually personally fought and won this when they tried to do it back, way back in like the 70s and 80s. They tried the same thing, and he fought it and won it back then. And I was just talking to Tom Lossman about that earlier today, because it's basically the same thing that they tried to pull, and they know that it ain't going to go through, and that's why they tried to backpack it or piggyback it on this other bill, hoping that everything would slide through and, they could be sneaky, but it didn't work out for them.
I'm digging, by the way. I don't know if you can tell.
It just, the problem that you're going to have here with, if this goes through, is stuff. If it goes through, they no longer need to even ask your opinion on it anymore. If they decide that species is
injurious.
Injurious, injurious can be anything. I mean, that's a really vague word. It can mean a lot of things.
I'll look up the exact definition of it.
Anything that causes damage to the natural ecosystem, anything that could be seen dangerous to humans, anything on that basis, it goes on the list.
Causing or likely to cause damage or harm.
Yeah, so causing or likely to that's the exact definition. Mm-hmm. Okay. It goes on the list, and then it can't cross state lines no more. They don't, and the thing is these senators that are on this and the people that are on this bill, even some of the sponsors, they have no idea about this. They don't have a clue. It's a 3,000-page document. And after listening to Dave Kaufman's, and if you guys didn't catch that, I suggest you go back and check it again. They're adding another 1,000 pages to it. It's unreal. And they're coming after everything. We're used to it in the reptile community, but they're coming after the fish, coming after the hamsters. I mean, the only way I can put this is if this goes through, it's going to bankrupt the entire industry. I don't even understand who
No one's going to profit.
Like, nobody wins. Like, even the animal rights groups will lose from this. Like, what are they going to have left to catch their donations and run their companies from if there's nothing? If everything's banned and we can't have nothing, what's left for them? I mean, this will impact.
Lead in the underground.
Right. Right. No. Well, feedings, you're screwed because you're in Florida, so they want it. They literally want to take everything you have. Because let's be real, what the one place I've seen is if it has a 1% chance of survival, it could be considered injurious and would be added to the list. What? Anything's got a 1% chance of living anywhere. But what's even worse about this is the whole whitelist thing, because if it's not on there to begin with, say we decide, we discovered a new species, and it's a new species, so it's not on that whitelist. We wouldn't be able to work with that species and learn about it. Like, this would affect venom labs. I mean, guaranteed, venomous is going to be the first thing they come after. I guarantee you that.
What are you looking for?
That right there. Okay, Max is getting his camera connected right now. So Max will be on here in a second.
Did you say who was on there in the title? No.
No. Max is going to be able to give all the technical details that I'm not good at explaining because I don't like using big words. Dude, the harm that it would cause, Grim, is like beyond. I can't even fathom it, especially at this point. Like, I'm not just talking. I mean, you're talking every pet store, Petco's, PetSmarts, mom and pop shops, every breeder, every cage supplier, tank manufacturers are going to suffer. Glass companies, plastic companies. It would break down so many industries. I mean, people do not understand. And this is a real fact that I got from, all right, hold up. Here we go. We got Max from Max's View. This guy is awesome. He's going to give us all the technical stuff. And if you guys are wondering how to find this guy, just go on YouTube one time and search 60 rattlesnakes under one house. Max has got everything shut off. Here, I'll just set them back for now. Let's see. There he is.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
All
Ladies
right,
and gentlemen, the man that removed 60 rattlesnakes from one house. Introducing Max from Max's View. If anyone's not subbed to Max from my channel or in the stream, make sure you go click in, sub to his
I
channel.
appreciate you. Let me get you plugged into my.
This guy's he creates
Sorry, I'm doing all my work
cinematic masterpieces. Guy knows how to run a camera. Let me tell you what.
All right, there we go. All right, yeah, I just left work, so.
Fun. Installing more solar panels?
Yeah, I got a dude who's signing up. He wants to pay cash, so I hope he signed up in 60 days. But I mean, he's signing paperwork for install tomorrow. So if you saw my pledge to anyone who gets installed within the next 30 days for my birthday special, $500 to usark and $500 to the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation. So when I get paid for his install, $500 is going to both.
The wheat. Yeah, you'll be hooking me up eventually.
Yeah, no, I mean, I looked into Wisconsin and like the laws and different things because I think you guys don't have as many options for electric.
Not really. I have like take it or leave it, or do it yourself.
I just found out who gets to decide whether a species is considered injurious.
So I've been. Normally this live is really exciting and we're pulling out snakes and talking all sorts of cool stuff, but we are interrupting the normal broadcast this week to talk about the most insane bill that has ever been tried to piggyback through the doors that I've seen in a long time. And ooh, I don't know who that is.
Hold on 2 seconds.
Max will be back. So who's the one that would actually make the decision?
Her.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
There's like an actual person that decides?
It says right here in the law itself.
No, 100% feedings.
That during the period during which an emergency designation prescribed under this subsection for a species of it is in effect, the Secretary of the Interior shall evaluate whether the species should be designated as injurious wildlife.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, the Secretary of the Interior is this lady. Yeah.
That's insane. So Max, do you understand like the bill a little bit better than I do?
Yeah, so I've been. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure my mic doesn't keep falling down. Just a sec. Ooh. Oh my gosh.
Anglo, Colorado. That's a bad sign. Republican.
Because I understand what it means, but I have a hard time of explaining it. So
Right, and I think that's going to be kind of true for a lot of people, which is why those infographics across Facebook and different places are really helpful, just so people understand that it's not like a very specific subset. So I'm not an OSB, so I can't share my screen with you, Paul. I'll kind of just highlight what this says. Oh gosh, that's small text. I'm trying to lean through, stay in frame.
Any species of wild mammal can't be imported from out of the U.S. That's another thing that's written. Is what it looks like.
All right. So, bill overturns many of the laceyact amendments that would have major. Oh, of course, I'll zoom in on the picture, which had major implications on any pet that is non-domesticated. And any animals that fall under this category will be listed into injurious. And essentially, they would have to be put on a white list to be able to be owned, cross state lines. And the biggest part about it is just like that it's on the federal level. So the United States isn't one ecosystem. Maine is not the same as Florida, which is not the same as Texas.
Exactly.
So the idea that reticulated pythons are going to take over Maine, it's not going to happen. They won't last the winter.
Right.
So putting such a large broad brush on it, excuse the pun, but you're going to paint a lot of issues.
Right.
And I mean, and they, it's not the first time Congress has tried to sneak something like this in on passing these big bills like this. If you follow Colin Noir, he's a big gun guy and he's a lawyer and he dives deep into it on the different, like the tactics are the same for politics, and it's disingenuous. And in my video that I put out recently, it's not only disingenuous because it doesn't have animal welfare in mind, it has political interests in mind, but it's also disingenuous because this is a case that USARK has already won.
Right.
Whose political interests?
Yeah, and so that's what a lot of people don't understand is this. They did this once, and this one's actually, from what I understand, is written even worse than what they passed and we had overturned the first time, because they've created it to be way more broad spectrum, and including not just reptiles. They're adding the fish in there, the birds, the mammals. Like
I'll tell you,
it
actually excludes mollusks
right
and crustaceans. So it says any species of wild mammals, wild birds, fish, or excluding mollusks and crustaceans. That's
basically everything except for insects and crustaceans are on the list.
Joe, do you have somebody off screen?
Yeah. So I got Jeff just running my kid running my comments over there.
Okay, it was throwing me off. I was like, is there like I was looking for other tabs. I just got off a group chat with the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation, and
Right.
so and we're talking about completely different topics. Only thing in common is just snakebite,
Right.
snakes. But here's the interesting thing for me is for years something like the rattlesnake roundup is allowed to go on. They buy their rattlesnakes. They buy from other roundups, so they'll buy from Oklahoma and stuff that's out of state. But but what are they going to do? Are they going to put rattlesnakes as a livestock species now? So how are you going to try and regulate a venomous species like a cow versus a ball python and treat it as something that's super invasive like hogs?
Right.
Like the level you're putting animals on, trying to paint a broad brush like that, it's
What's up, Bozak? What's up, Gary?
I mean, it's logistically it's terrible.
Right. Well, and see, that's what I've been trying to ask everyone out of all of this, because let's hypothetically fast forward and say for some reason we didn't stand up enough, or we didn't make enough noise, and this gets passed. Who actually benefits from something like this? Like even even the animal rights groups are going to end up, losing from this, because if everything gets banned, like to where it goes to this, eventually the industry ends, then they got nothing left to fight for anymore, and they're out of business too.
I mean, I don't know. It's the politicians, the lobbyists, the lawyers. If you saw the Super Bowl ad 8 years ago, essentially it's NHSUS, like making fun of them, saying it's like we have lawyers in cages who need to pay for their third house or their yacht or whatever. And it's like this video essentially saying, hey, like they pay lawyers. And so, if they win this, it's an excuse to fundraise more, right? Because they'll twist it off in some way to call it a victory on how many, because what follows after that is they're going to show footage of confiscations. They're going to show footage, and they'll paint it in a bad light, just like media can paint anything in a bad light, to where they look like they were taking these animals out of a terrible situation when really it's just a reptile keeper.
Right.
But
so I got some statistics from Ryan McVeigh earlier today. He was going to come on, but he was already booked for 2 in a row, and then he had to pack up for a flight tomorrow morning to Texas. But 1 in 8 houses has a reptile. That's just reptile. 1 in 8 houses. So that would mean that 1 in 8 people would become criminals if they decided to move and take their pet with them.
Right. And I mean, honestly, I like the snakes here in Texas. I don't like the ones in Washington. And that's what I tell people all the time when it gets into talking about politics. But it's, the last thing they care about is who they make criminals and who they don't make criminals.
Right.
And that's why these broad bills are written and painted the way they are, so they can enforce it as they please. So I'm going to draw a lot of parallels to gun rights, just because it's like that's something I've done a lot of research on the legal side of, more than animal welfare, because we've been extremely fortunate to have USARK to do the backbone of this work, and that's why going through, I shared that meme the other yesterday of the starving cow, and content creators going in like milking it more, and I did that because people are regurgitating what USARK says, right? Because it is so hard for them to put it in their own words, because they haven't thought about the actual fight themselves. They just kind of pass it off, right? And push it down the line to it. So we've been extremely fortunate to have USARK, and that's why those who have been in the hobby a long time are so. If you're at NARBC this weekend, you're going to see like how lucrative they're willing to throw money at USARK because of the amazing work they do. So it is a very good thing that we do have them. But in parallel, California has very strict gun laws, but you hear about police getting arrested with guns they shouldn't have. You hear about, politicians, filing for their license to carry, and other people being on a wait list for 12 months, where a politician waits a month or a couple weeks and they'll get their license to carry. So it's like, these laws aren't created equally because they won't be enforced equally. It's going to be disproportionately affected, or disproportionately enforced.
Hold on 1 second, guys. We got Sean Gray in the house. Let me, I got to switch the view here quick. Hold on.
What's up, man?
What's up, Sexy?
What is up, Sean? Did I do it right?
Oh, sorry. I just got back from picking up the girls.
I figured that's where you were, was still on the road. At
Yeah.
least you got warm weather.
Ish.
I can't wait to get down there out of this cold, man. It's been stupid cold.
It was like,
Everyone down there
yeah,
got the
y'all
snow.
stupid cold is a whole different level. It was like 35 this morning.
That's getting down there for you. I mean,
You there?
You probably almost froze
Yeah.
stiff. Damn truck
Almost died.
Yep.
Hey, 5W30 oil
No,
works.
truck
good.
started, just fucking ice on the windshield.
Oh, flip that switch back on. Damn timer. So if any of you guys don't know who this is Sean Gray. He is the owner. Well, I guess it's him and Lori, but he's the one that does the herp shows. I'd say it does all the work, but we all know that Lori does all the work and Sean's the pretty face.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the bill that's going on, and Max just pretty much explained like what it's all about. What I want to get to is, in the case that something like this would pass, what would this really honestly mean for everybody?
It means I lost all my reptiles in a boating accident.
No, so I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to what the laceyact does. Laceyact's been around for like 100 years.
Right.
And it's always going to be there. The problem is that people are I think it's a little bit of fear mongering too, as well as misunderstanding how the law is written. So what it's suggesting in the verbiage is saying that there's going to be a blacklist and a whitelist, which in Texas, if you're in Texas, there already is a blacklist and a whitelist. We deal with it every time we go out herping and stuff like that. So, but what it does is it gives them the authority to add anything they deem injurious to the blacklist. Okay. And then what that will do is if they add more species to the blacklist, then interstate travel will be banned. And it doesn't say everyone that owns reptiles has to get rid of everything. The laceyact is to prevent the spread of non-indigenous animals, right? Invasive, injurious animals. That's how it's worded. So, and this was, whenever, I think this is kind of retaliation for USARK winning the injunction against the laceyact regulations when they locked down all the states, especially Texas and Florida, when it was dealing with berms and retics and things like that. So I think everybody just needs to hold up. I mean, obviously keep donating and trying to support USARK because they're the ones fighting in the front lines, honestly. Their attorneys are probably just banging out all kinds of stuff. The last quote I saw from Phil is that whenever they opened up discussion for the bill, the first thing that was brought up was to, remove the laceyact inclusion. So they're working on it. I mean, obviously that's what the money's going to pay these attorneys to fight this, right?
Watched that today. He said everyone definitely send their emails now, but they're all going on a 2-week recess. So in 3 weeks, that's when we should all hit it super hard. So it's fresh in their brain.
Yeah. But I mean, still send in those letters and keep doing that and contact your local representatives,
Please,
so yeah, don't be a dick about it. Just be nice about it and, and express your concerns with with your way of life, your business, how you feed your family. Like you have to be respectful about it. If you want to be taken seriously, it has to be a professional, respectful letter.
Right. And see, what I can't get out of all of this, and I keep trying to wrap my head around it, is in the case like this goes through and they start little by little sneaking in species after species, which we all know that's what they're going to try and do. And they do find who wins in the end of this. Like, nobody wins. Like, not even the animal rights groups win.
No, it'd be more of a, it would be a moral victory for the animal rights groups. That's pretty much it. And that's the problem. Here's the thing also is that think about how many reptile breeders there are in the United States. Think about how many shows are put on. Think about how many people sell online. Okay. They would be more policing the online sales because they can track that those shipments are coming from one state to another. There's ways around everything. There's got to be a loophole for people doing shows, for people breeding. So I think a lot of people are misunderstanding, saying, "Oh, all your animals are going to be taken away." The people who have berms and retics in Florida, no, it's not the case, but it's a step in that direction.
Right.
And so by allowing that bill to go through, it opens up, more. And honestly, if it does eventually happen to go through somehow, the first thing USARK's going to do is file an injunction against it, just like they did when they changed the Lacey Act a few years ago.
And that's why number one key important thing, it's most important, is go get your USARK membership. I mean, it's $5 a month. Like, if you don't have one, now is definitely the time to get one. Help them out however you can.
I had actually completely forgotten to renew mine. So I mean, I donate every time I see Bill. I hand Phil a stack of cash every time I see him.
Right.
But
I'm the same way.
I went
but
ahead and,
it's like the reason it's important is because you have numbers of members,
right?
And that is looked at as well. So it's like for a long time, I just I just donated. Didn't I was like, well, I'm giving them the money. I don't care about labels.
Phil and Ryan McVeigh made me feel bad today because I was like thinking, he's like, when they show up and they got whatever their membership count is, like that doesn't show big large numbers, even though they're getting donations from way more people than that. So the membership, he said, like really, really helps. And actually, I didn't know this, but when they first beat the lawsuit the first time, initially for the first short period of time, it was only overturned for USARK members.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I remember that wording. So, and that's the thing is people don't understand. It's fine to give a few bucks here and there, or donate an animal for the auctions whenever they have the auctions. We're gold members, but they have plans as bronze as $5 a month. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's not a whole lot, Yeah,
$40 a year,
but it adds up. It adds up.
Right. Well, not only does it add up, every time someone just gets a bronze, that's one more member. It looks a lot stronger when you say, well, we have, 10,000 members, or if you say, well, we got 10 million members.
Exactly. It is a numbers game when it comes to lobbyists and shit like that. It is a numbers game.
Right. I would definitely have to agree and say that people do need to calm down just a little bit. I think they went, even the way they tried to do it slick and sly, they went way too freaking far on this one. So, like, I don't see a chance in hell of this getting through.
Joe, you're telling us to settle down with your title being new Lacey Act will steal your reptiles.
No, I'm not saying we should stop and not care.
Oh, yeah. But no, yeah, well, I mean, and like so I definitely don't want to be words I've been talking all day, misconstrued with, what I said about the roundup, but it's like, okay, so in Abilene, where I'm from, everyone thinks that we have cottonmouths here. So, but we don't. They start at the Concho River about 90 miles south. So, something that is aquatic is more likely to be, I like what Iron Dog says, but something that is aquatic is more likely to be put on that list. So it's like somebody could run over a cottonmouth and like it'd be fine. But if somebody calls me to like relocate the cottonmouth, but I don't, say it's in bad health or, there's some other issue, it's like I keep it and, maybe just to give it, some meals or whatever because it's having a rough time. Anyway, for whatever reason, me keeping it is worse than somebody just running it over.
Well, I hate politics. Sean knows I hate politics, but my wife is like mad into
I
politics.
hate them too.
What blows my mind, what blows my mind right now though is that we're all fighting to like keep our rights to keep reptiles, but yet they just approved $30 million for free crack pipe machines. That's a real
I
thing.
saw that.
That's a real thing.
Any listing I ever make for a reptile like again will be for crack pipe. I'm selling a crack pipe.
Yep, because crack pipes are free. But and one thing that is funny to me is Justice was just reading through like who actually decides what makes
Like, what
the
considers a species
list.
injurious?
There's actually one
Yeah.
person that makes that decision. They even have her name here.
Actually,
Yeah, whenever they did the study about the berms and retics in the Everglades traveling to Maine and shit, that was the USGS, U.S. Geological Society. What the fuck does that have to do with reptiles?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
So
it's the Department of Interior. that
So
decides
yeah,
how to
so
sell.
the Secretary of the Interior is the one who determines what makes the list and what
But there's
doesn't
an
make the
opportunity
list.
for public comment every time she
Ah.
does.
Where did that other paper?
Not that that matters. I mean, public comments, like at
Right.
that point,
They win.
you know,
It's just her.
Yeah.
Oh, what is her actual? What is she? What is her normal job? Is what
Secretary of the Interior.
I don't know what that means. I don't know
So
politics.
she's the
I
secretary.
think she designs the White House.
Department of
She
Interior.
designs the White House and chooses what animals we can cross state lines
he designed the White House.
with.
It was organized March 3rd, 1839.
Oh Lord.
But this isn't the first time they've tried to introduce this. They've tried similar bills and almost identical bills since like the 70s, actually. The first couple.
Yeah, it happens every year.
Yeah. This one is just like, I think, in my opinion, this is the worst one that they've tried to push through.
Well, I mean, it's like the sales tactics, Sean, you've sold vacuums. So you tell
Yep.
people, it's like, hey,
Kirby vacuum
This-
cleaner.
yeah.
I
So
sold Filter Queen.
So it's like, okay, get this. In fact, I was just
Yeah.
talking about this with a couple guys, who sold knives. It's like, get this $2,400 knife package. Well, they're going to tell you no, but then you end up buying the $600 knife package, which is still way too much to spend on knives, but it's not the 20, it's like, so they're going far to like inch it back to see,
I
like,
sold Cutco knives, man. We would go all the way down to the one knife for $34.95.
right. But, it's like, it's still too much to spend on a knife.
It's like those fuckers that sell solar.
Hey,
It's like those fuckers that sell solar.
So, hey, I made a sale tonight.
Speechless?
Huh?
Good.
Yeah, it's
I'm
very
glad.
rare.
I thought
So
I
I
made you
actually
speechless.
I sold a system tonight. He's paying cash in 60 days, but I'm still counting it. So I want to get paid for this install. I'm donating the 500 to USARK and to ASF. So
That's awesome. Yeah, Max sells solar panels and Sean sells stamps and plastic tables.
hey, Sean sells these
Right.
little lanyards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh fuck.
No, so let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, they're talking about my last live stream. What's I can't wait to get down there. It's coming up quick.
Yep.
Seems
It
like,
is.
okay.
We miss you guys.
Seems like I got a lot to get done yet, and I'm running out of time to
Yeah.
do it.
Oh my god. Yep. I'm in the same boat. I mean, we don't leave for Corpus for another like 2 weeks, but I have just a shit long list of stuff to do. So, but I've been up at the shop for the past few days helping out there.
How was finding Spicy Rocks. Did you find anything good?
What?
When you went out to what's his name's property looking for arrowheads, you find anything good?
Oh no, we didn't go cancel because of the weather. I'm going Saturday. This coming Saturday now.
Oh,
Nice.
hey, speaking of which, Sean, I'm looking for one of those giant yellow leg centipedes. If you see one, like seriously, I'm looking for one. I'm on 3 waiting lists, but I don't know when they come
Like
in.
the
Just
white
sit back
leg
and get
ones.
smell your breath.
The Peruvians. They're the largest.
I bet
in
Ty
the world.
has some.
They're the largest in the world.
I
They
can
get
check.
like-
I can check with Ty.
All right, they get like 24 to 36 inches.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so jacked up. Did you watch my video with that damn centipede that I dropped yesterday?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so my
Dude,
buddy
that's like the
Kurtwood,
size of a fucking sand boa.
I know,
Jesus
isn't that
Christ.
crazy? No, but my buddy Kurtwood,
Fuck
he gave me
that.
a Vietnamese centipede, and that thing like it went a little schizo, but then we had an understanding after a while. I found out if you put him on those like 22-inch hooks from Venom Life, like he'll just they can hold on, but
Speaking
they
of
can't
Venom Life.
fast, and he just chills right
These
out.
hooks.
That's the one.
Yep.
Yeah, you should check that thing out. His
Oh.
named
Yeah.
him Cupcake. But yeah,
That's
no, let me know if Ty has any of them. He'll know what I'm talking about. Peruvian giant yellow leg.
Yeah, I'll let him know. Giant yellow leg.
Look
Take
up
your
the
word
video.
for it.
They're freaking nuts. Like they're too
I
full.
will.
All right.
That's crazy.
Dude, I can't wait. Well, I thank you for coming on, Sean. Giving a little bit
Yeah,
of
man, I appreciate it, man.
But
Sorry I was a little late.
no, you're all right. I just
Look what I'm working on.
I'm not good at explaining that stuff because I'm not political at all. I understand what it means, but I'm not into all the technical stuff. I was watching Dave's live and all sorts of stuff today, trying to get all the everything out of it that I could.
So one thing I think that needs to be, I don't know, that I haven't seen talked about a lot is like who introduced the laceyact amendments, which is actually Marco Rubio.
That's what
Yeah.
I was looking at.
Yeah, that's what we looked into
big
today.
surprise.
I've been digging.
I don't think this guy leaves his own state because I think he wants everything regulated like Florida is regulated.
If you go through his Twitter, it's crazy. Yeah, Florida.
Yeah,
Florida's Republican.
it's the Florida Republican senator. Yeah, we seen that. That was who introduced it.
And I was seeing where his pockets were laced.
We were
That's what I was
trying to
looking for.
figure out who was lacing his pockets.
What and see, and
The money.
it's weird to me because you have the Wisconsin guy who supports HSUS. You have the you have Rubio who's a Republican. You would think that this would be the vegan types, which typically are on the left, and for people who are supposed to be more for freedom to support over regulation,
And the lady
it's pretty disingenuous.
Yeah,
Well,
but I'll be
The
honest.
problem,
Most of the senators that are along on this, they don't have a fucking clue what they're signing to.
Wait, one
Well,
second.
that's
It's
my
a
here's
big document. They don't know.
here's the thing that a lot of people are missing. The two-party system doesn't really exist. There's people that are on both sides of it. It matters how much money the lobbyists are putting in their pockets.
Right.
And if PETA and HSUS are making that many millions of dollars per year and not giving it to anybody but their president and their CEOs, then they have money to lace the pockets of those people. So of course they're going to take it. Oh, you're going to give me $150,000 to slip this bill in? Fuck yes, absolutely.
And it's like
They don't care.
They don't even
That goes
read
their
it.
campaign. It has nothing to do with their political views. Political views are a fake fucking thing.
Yeah.
Political views are based on how much money people are sending them.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because people will, one group they'll say, "Oh, well, this lobbying group spent this much on a suit." Well, it's like that's standard practice. The lobbying is they screw around with money, and it's like so they'll try and paint some lobbying group in a bad light, based off their political view, quote unquote. But it's like the other just is a wash. If you want great examples of that, look at antitrust laws. So,
But see, all this stuff is public knowledge. You can actually go look up, follow the money. There's websites that show you where the donations are coming from.
That's what I
we
was
deal with when we were trying to do our.
I was getting there.
I was trying to
Yeah,
follow
when we were trying to do the whole. You what?
I was trying to find the money trail on this one all day today.
Yeah, well, and that's like when we were dealing with getting our permits for the dispensaries in Texas. Our Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is a complete fucking moron, and nothing will pass him. But if you look at the lobbyists that are sending it to him, it's ridiculous. You can trace the money and see where it's coming from, and you can see where the donations are going to each one of those people who are putting those bills into place or blocking those bills.
Yeah. It's just
lose you, Joe?
It's getting tiring having to fight these all the time.
It's weird because this was a very popular in the majority. Minority.
You're getting echoey. Am I losing you?
Or not popular in the majority, but popular.
I'm still here.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you're still here. Maybe it was me. I should probably make sure I keep this phone.
Yeah, you're choppy.
I got
it's that Wisconsin Wi-Fi.
Dude, I switched internet people and it was the dumbest thing I ever did. My shit worked before.
I'm out in the country. We don't have anything. It's all satellite Wi-Fi.
I had to upload. I was trying to upload Reptile chip videos out at Sean's.
I'm out in the middle.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Halfway in the sticks.
Yeah, our internet sucks. We don't have any high speed out here. Yep.
Mine's supposed to be
Max.
400 fucking meg or something.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, mine's supposed to be crazy, ridiculous. Look, check this out.
Oh, you got it painted. Nice. Oh, wait, hold on.
Did you see it?
Nice. Yeah.
I had you on solo.
It got grainy for a second, so I was like,
No, it came out pretty good. Oh, got to match it. I'm going to cruise on the beach a couple weeks.
Well, on the positive side,
oh man, but
if nothing else comes from it, everyone should get a lot of sales over the next couple of weeks because everyone's going to want to buy everything they can because they're going to think they can't get it. So the show should be killer.
Yeah, we're getting calls from people at the shop asking us what we're doing about it. We're getting messages on my business page for the shows. What are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? I've been posting about this shit for years about USARK, and we've been raising money for USARK. It's just these people are coming out of the woodwork that are brand new hobbyists and think that our entire hobby is ruined and everything's going down the shitter, but it's really not. We just have to get together better. The infighting bullshit between fucking people.
There's nothing new. I just think they got a little bit closer trying to sneak it through. I mean, because usually we catch it before it even hits the house. And USARK didn't catch track of it until like the day after it went through the house. And the only thing that scares me is one of these days they're gonna get lucky and squeak something through, and that's when we're gonna have a chain reaction.
Yeah, and they're gonna keep trying, even though if this one gets shut down or removed, there's gonna be another one, the next big bill that comes through
every time.
And they're targeting bigger bills that they know that are actually going to get passed. So
right. Piggybacking on pork barrel politics.
Oh well. Keep on keeping on.
Hey guys, I got to get up in like 6 hours.
All right, brother. Thanks for hopping on.
So
appreciate it.
No problem.
I'll be.
Yeah, I mean, we were just about to get to our shit
Tell
talk
Lacey we
about
said
Sean.
hi.
I will. Oh, she's watching upstairs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we'll
talk to me all you want. Everybody else does.
You guys, everyone in the chat, y'all get to see the video I'm going to do with Sean's shop and go check out some giant tortoises. And
when are you heading down there?
I'm coming down for the Bryan College Station show.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you are coming early, right?
Oh, fuck yeah, I'm coming early.
All right. So,
Sweet.
HSUS has given 27.7 million.
Oh, he's researching where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right,
it's
brother.
a lot of money. But yeah, I'll dive
You
more
get
into
some
this.
rest.
All right. I love you guys.
I'll see you guys
All right,
soon.
man. Talk to you later.
All right, later.
You're getting on my money.
Max and Justice both searching the money trail.
Oh yeah. So no, I get real nerdy with it.
No, and that's exactly why I messaged you, because I told everyone, I said Max will have all the like technical details, you know.
Well, and honestly, I wish I would have had more time to like jump into this. But
I'm telling you, I was looking this stuff up and listening to stuff all day, and it's still Chinese to me.
right, and it's like as you do something like this more.
Well, I try
you
to
know, you
generally
get
try to
better
stay
at
out
it.
of politics. This one scared me a little bit, and it's not that I think it's going to go through, especially as it's written. I do think that there probably might squeak some version of it through, but we'll see.
Right.
But you know, this ain't the first. It ain't going to be the last. It's just getting scary to me that they actually got through House before we even caught wind of it this time. That's what actually like blows my mind the worst.
Well, I mean, I got okay, so there we go. Hold on, I'm gonna find Rubio.
100% cold-blooded.
Shed more on a single page on this list.
What's up, everyone in the chat? I appreciate you for coming, checking out, listening.
How many listeners we got right now?
If anyone else wants to hop on, let me know. I will drop the link to you if you want to come on and give us your input or feedback. Matter of fact, here, Justice, let me see that. Need this for just a second.
Okay, so there's 83 contributions from HSUS to people in Florida, to electors in Florida. So they are throwing money at Florida, which is why Rubio.
Does it say which? Does it break down which places are sending it?
Well, I found Section 626, but it was the Section 626 of 2011. So that's the wrong law, all in all.
Okay, well, I can jump into this a little more later because it doesn't make for good footage for me just jumping in and like get jeez. So it's still loading on my end, but yeah, no,
lots and lots of money getting thrown to Florida, and Florida's the one that we really got to worry about if this goes through like it does, because they're the ones that are gonna start throwing stuff on that list.
Well, Florida, they've been attacking hard for a long time.
Right.
A group I follow, YouTubers, good guys, Tiki's Geckos. So David and Manny, like they've been very vocal on this. Camp Kennan, he's been very vocal on this. And it's like the people that are in Florida, they are very vocal on it. And like it you say it's exhausting for you, but it's like Wisconsin, your senator cares, but like you don't have recurring issues that they're trying to point at.
No, so in Wisconsin, the most we have to deal with is a city ordinance from time to time. I was actually completely shocked when you tagged me in that post showing that one of the Wisconsin senators was like right at the top of the list heading this thing off, because like in all reality, for the most part, Wisconsin doesn't give a shit about animals.
Right. But they give a shit about money.
But they care about money for sure. What's up, Todd? Welcome to the live.
One thing I think is very important to address. I'm gonna read this off verbatim.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So this is from Jim from the Kentucky Reptile Zoo. I've been seeing lots of people posting about the possible ban on transportation. Once this is addressed, the reptile hobby needs to stop giving ammo to the animal rights groups to turn the general public against the hobby. Responsible keepers need to call out and distance themselves from free handlers, social media influencers, breeders that think they're vets and poachers, and stop posting reckless behavior and live feeding of cute animals to get views. All the videos of snakes striking at people just reinforces to the general public that snakes are dangerous. A lack of ethics by many individuals has led to the hobby, led to where the hobby is in a fight to survive. Stop putting your head in the sand and start policing yourselves. This is a huge thing that I think, I think if you look at social media content creators as you do breeders, are they putting the animal first or their content first?
Right. I
Understand
where they're coming with some of that, but in the same time, I argue this all the time because, even though like I'm personally more so on I'm not a free handler. I don't condone people go out and free handle, but I hate when everyone blames stuff like that because I shouldn't say all of us, most of us found this hobby from the biggest free handler that ever existed. And so I hate when they use free handlers against people because to me, the free handling can show that these things aren't dangerous, scary creatures, not that they should be doing it. And for the people that have that knowledge and, don't get me wrong, there's two different people, there's people that know how to learn and interact with an animal, and then there's people that want clout. And the problem is they get wrapped up in the same bin all the time. You know what I mean? But what I think actually hurts it worse is, you take a video of a half dehydrated retic in a very small cage that wraps the lady up because she doesn't understand the animal she's keeping. Those are the ones that really kill us. And
see, I understand your thought process. However, on the opposite side of that, we all understood that Steve Irwin was a professional. He had prided himself on never being envenomated. But who came after Steve Irwin? You had good ones. You had Jeff Corbin. But then you had your Austin Stevens, who got tagged in a 45-minute episode, got tagged 3 times by venomous animals. One of them being, a snouted cobra, I think, or West. Anyway, first of all, he uses a venom suction kit to try and suck it out. This dude swings from a vine into a river to jump onto a gaboon viper. For me, I'm very much of the party of just because you can just doesn't mean you should.
Oh, correct. No, I think as a personal person, yeah. No, I continuously tell people all the time.
You're on TikTok, right?
No. Everyone tells me I need to be on TikTok.
Okay, I mean, even if you're just scrolling through, it gives you good content ideas. And
the only reason I'm not on TikTok is because I'm not a 13-year-old girl.
Well, I am. So but there's a gentleman there. I think it's Herpin Hippie, and he has this albino rattlesnake, and he goes, "This is the only snake in my collection, that's killed somebody." And basically, the dude was free handling, and it was I'm sure this dude had done it tons of times, but it struck him in the neck and the dude ended up dying from it. A very important thing to remember is that when you're in this hobby, what you do, and especially what you put out, you're an advocate for it. It's the same as if somebody's carrying a gun. I still roll my eyes at the dude walking through, trying to do his, trying to walk into Walmart with an AR-15 around him just because he can. And it's like, you're putting a bad name to the rest of us. Yeah, you didn't have a negligent discharge, but still, it's like you're inspiring even the lowest common denominator. So remember that not only was Steve Irwin a TV personality, he had a zoo. Right. He was raised in a zoo. He had more qualifications than just being on TV. Now, when you're looking at somebody who's, who comes from that, it's like the hobby as a whole needs to discourage it for the lowest common denominator. Because if somebody has something like that happen, and to where a snake kills somebody, then it represents everyone, and that's the ammunition that that HSUS is looking for.
Right,
So,
but see, in the same sense,
when you
I
take
feel
a
like the
venomous
hobby-
lizard into a school, Joe,
I feel like in the same sense though, if the venomous hobby, everyone's always wants to blame everyone that's in the hobby, but in the reality of most of it, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the negativity that comes from our hobby comes from non-reptile people. People that are faking python catches in the wild in places, using the same snake over and over. The list goes on of different examples, people that call themselves reptile channels, but they're really like not a reptile
bear
channel.
photography channels.
Right. You know what I mean? No.
We're not talking about you.
Those
Yeah, no.
videos, that's what puts the fear in people's heads. That's why people actually call me all the time because they message me all the time because of my cage company, because they think they're going to get a different answer out of me. I feel like, in my personal opinion, someone showing an animal that, has lost its threat, its fear of a human, and a human that's able to read it enough and hold it and show them, like, look at this creature not trying to kill me, does a lot less damage than someone pulling a retic or pulling a berm that was actually caught in the Everglades and illegally handed over to them out of a sewer drain that they planted, and then going and putting it down little creeks by apartments where they never were to begin with. And I feel like if more people stopped worrying about the little things that could possibly, potentially, maybe hurt the hobby, and we all band together to fight against the ones that are absolutely definitely causing harm to the hobby, I think we'd get a lot further. But that's just my 2 cents.
Right. So I hear what you're saying. I think the danger in that is, like, you're talking in an echo chamber of the reptile hobby on its own, because you're advocating it for it, like for a lot of the, like you said, a lot of negativity can come within the reptile hobby. But on my experience, it's like, how do I set myself apart from, like, how do you set yourself apart from those who do education events at, like, the Rattlesnake Roundup, where they're sitting there smacking it in the face with a balloon?
Right.
And I've seen the same technique at a reptile show, somebody doing that for a demonstration. It's like, that's not a good demonstration.
Right.
Just because an animal is capable of something, it doesn't, like, I think it's disrespectful to the animal, because you don't need to show that a snake can be calm with your hands. I like crawling under houses and relocating rattlesnakes. I was using tongs. It's like, the fact that they were cold, that they were chilled out, it's like you can show that, like, an animal just wants to be left alone without, like, putting it right there at the knife's edge. And I'm searching a lot for my words, because I want to make sure I phrase this right. Because I know, I might get some people who, like, disagree a little more harshly than you do, but what I think is important is that, I wouldn't want somebody watching something that I put out try and recreate it and get hurt. And I'm almost stealing that line verbatim from Brent from Venom Life, because him and I have been both offered TV spots. The producers of Say Yes to the Dress actually came to me, and they wanted to do a snake show. And, I interviewed and I taught about it. Eventually I sent them an email, told them I wasn't interested. And the thing about these shows is, like, you hear about, oh, well, they make me wear a backpack. But it's like, if there was a snake 12 feet away they would want you to be like, Joe, don't move. Joe, you know, it's like, and I told them I'm not going to do that.
Right.
You know, every time Unilat or Daily Mail or Good Morning America wants to grab any of my footage, I tell them I get final editing say. You know, I'll like if it came down to it, I would take a licensing pay cut to get final say in the edit, because what's most important to me is the image of the animal. And so I've gone through and, you know, and they've sent me something, and I don't remember what I've changed, but, you know, I turn around and I'll tell these media companies, it's like, you need to change this because I don't want it to look bad on the animal at all. You know,
No, and I agree that one part of it is scary, because if you know, even if, you know, in the case, you know, I see little parts of both sides of it, and I try to stay, you know, kind of neutral, and I do things the way I want to do things. I don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do live feedings unless I have to, but I don't have anything against people that do live feedings. You know, snakes got to eat, and that's the way it is in the wild. I understand some people are that way.
you ever tried to feed a speckled rattlesnake? Some of them do not take frozen thawed.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
so like I understand it in that sense. So I try not to judge either side, and I try to look at both points. I do see the fact, and I think Roundup put it here. It's Todd Archer here. Let me see, where did it go? This is the one thing that does suck. You know, one person does it. You know, it's hard to pick and choose. Like, you know, you say, you know, everyone wants to get on Tyler Nolan, they want to get on Chandler, but no one has a single thing to say about Dingo. You know, and I
don't know Dingo.
So Dingo is, you got to check out Dingo's channel, man. He's like my hero. He's from Africa, though. You know, they only care about it if you're doing it here in the United States, but they don't realize that they will take those videos from any country and they will use them here in the United States and say it's us doing it. They don't care.
I mean, it's I don't know. I guess I can't speak enough to that because I don't know his channel, but
And some say
I disagree with the fact that like you shouldn't try and judge either side. I think we need to judge both sides, because if we don't judge and we don't police, somebody else will, and that's exactly how stuff like this can get so far. Is because, you know, because the minute there's a mistake, you know, HSUS is like gonna put that in front of politicians saying, hey, you have this guy who's like letting his kid handle a cobra. I forget the guy's name. He was here in Texas. Sean nearly knocked him out. But look at Austin Cobra suicide. Oh yeah, I think I've seen that video. But you know, even in India, you know, like they do not like handling the cobras. It's illegal to kiss a cobra on top of the head. You know, the people who do it, you know, obviously they just don't care. But it's like they even have sense enough to say, hey, don't turn around and like
300.
don't you know. So because worldwide, you know, obviously laceyact is in place for invasive species, but worldwide, like snakebite is a neglected neotropical disease, you know, and that's why I'm doing a lot of this, you know, the stuff with ASF that I'm doing is just to raise attention on the 7-8 deaths that we have here in the United States a year. Like that is a blessing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't even have to take a death, you know. It can take just a snake bite in general, you know. So like as far as judging and policing goes, like if you want the best example, go to the National Snakebite Support page. Somebody says, I have a bite, I have a question about a bite. They say, we will kick you out if you try and say anything, and you're not supposed to. You know, that just because it's like it is so hard to work the other way for responsible keeping when there's something like that out there. You know, if you know the myths that, you know, people will put out, you know, like snakes chasing you. we're already still working against that. And so, well, I turn that off. But there's a lot of myths we're already working against by people who are ignorant of snakes. And so we're just doubling how hard things are by pushing things like walking that knife's edge. So it makes it hard on us. So
Right. No, I mean, I'll definitely agree that there's certain people out there that are just doing reckless, stupid stuff to just get attention and not necessarily for the good of the animal. But I would also say that there's other people that are doing, things that a lot of people are like really frowning on, but at the same time, they're doing so much good. It's hard to put them all in the same category for me.
yeah, but I mean, I think that'd be that wouldn't be doing it justice, because it'd be oversimplifying it. That's like saying, oh, well, I put everything from metal to, I put all music in the scope of rock because, no, music's different. It's pop, rock, metal, it's like rock and metal, I guess they kind of go hand in hand. But, like there's country. It's like you can call it all music, but you can't call it all rock. And
right, but in the same sense, there's
not metaphors.
No, but I get it. But if you, in that same sense, there's good rock songs and there's bad rock songs, but they're still both rock songs. We don't just eliminate rock because a couple people made terrible songs that sucked.
But don't we call people out that suck?
Right, I get that, but that's what I mean that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not against calling people out that suck. I don't like necessarily get on the like anti this bandwagon or anti that, because there's good people doing both things the right way.
So
and then there's people, I know people that only feed frozen thawed, they don't free handle, and they're terrible keepers.
Right. Well, I mean, PetSmart will let a snake die before they feed it live.
Right.
So, and again, that's pushing the needle too far the other way. So here's the issue that we're facing. So, what's a non-native venomous snake you own?
A non-native venomous snake I own? Every venomous snake I own is non-native.
So
I'm in Wisconsin. I can't have anything indigenous.
Okay. Name one of them.
Gaboon viper. It's the closest one.
All right. Where does that venom come from?
Where does the venom come from?
Yeah, excuse me, the anti-venom. Like you get bit, where's your anti-venom coming from?
So the two sources that I have in Wisconsin is the Madison College and M Toxins Laboratory.
Okay. So the number of people who can't answer that question, or prime example, it's like, do you have your bite protocol binder?
So I have the flash drive and I have hard copies for each species.
Okay. So, and where do you keep those?
So the flash drive's right on top of my dresser.
And real quick, I know you know these answers, and I know like you can answer these, but these are the but here's the thing: it's like these are things that aren't talked about.
Right.
People don't know. It's like tons of venomous keepers. They don't know where their venom comes from, other than like Crofab and Anivip if you get bit by a pit viper of North America. So, they don't have, here in Texas, I joke around. It's like my boat protocol. It's a giant binder, and all it says on the inside is call Spencer Green. Pain Kalachi. Yeah. But people people don't have proper bite protocols, and those are the things that need to be advocated for. It's like, figure out, if you have a non-native species, are you getting Thai Red Cross? Like I have an Enceladus. There is no specific anti-venom for Enceladus. Right. In fact, over the past 4 years, there's been development between like 1 versus 2, and it's like, it depends on your doctor as far as which one you might get. But, people just expect, oh, well, this zoo will give it to me. Well, one, the zoo doesn't have to.
Right. No, and I see that as being one of the biggest, especially in the venomous industry. The biggest issue is there's way more people not doing it the way they should be doing it than are doing it the right way. Like
Right.
there's even things, and I've discussed this with people, especially like even recently, that like I feel I haven't done enough on in my collection and the way I do things. Even to the point where I'm starting to get a bunch of information because I'm going to be doing the beginning steps of working towards getting my own anti-venom, because I'm kind of I don't like to jump on sides, but I'm kind of on the bandwagon of you should keep your own anti-venom, because let me tell you what, if you guys want to know something that hurts the hobby is when you count on a random zoo. Okay, two things: you get bit, you don't know what to do, and you call 911. That's the first thing that really destroys this hobby. And then you have to count on a zoo to give you the anti-venom, and that zoo is not going to be happy about it. And they do have the legal right to release to the news media that they gave anti-venom to save a private keeper. That destroys our hobby, especially the venomous hobby, so fast. That's how you
Right.
make national news.
So right. And so say this is an AZA accredited zoo. Do you know who has tables at the AZA conference? PETA, HSUS. You know, it looks good for them to be at these things, but it's like, you know, like that's how things like this is the ammunition that they're getting, because somebody gets bit. It, you know, luckily I think collection bites are like point. Oh, I don't even want to give a number, but collection, like compared to native bites, which is accidental and non-accidental, or like where they're messing with the animal and then completely oblivious to the animal, and then you have a small fraction, which is a small fraction, which is exotic keepers or, you know, their own pets. So I don't even want to give a number because I don't remember it, but you know, luckily those bites are only a fraction. But not only that, it's like these zoos, they usually just they have to write off that expense because they have to buy the anti-venom.
Oh yeah.
So they have to buy the anti-venom,
They
and
never
if they
get
use
paid
it for you, they have to buy new supply.
Yep.
Or
No,
they have to not have it if one of their keepers gets bit.
And I'm on the page that it shouldn't be the zoo's responsibility to pay for you to survive because you wanted to keep your animal. I think you should be legally allowed to own that animal, but I do think you should be responsible for yourself. Not saying that zoos should just let people die. That's not what I mean by that. I just mean that like more and more keepers should be working towards. Yeah, and trust me, I realize it's a long, tedious process with all sorts of paperwork that's confusing. But the nice part is the venomous community is starting to come out of the shadows more and more every day. So there's lots of people out there willing to help and give you information. But we need to be working towards like keeping our own stock, because here's the fact of the matter: if you're legally keeping, you have proper bright protocols, you keep your own anti-venom, and you've actually set up meetings with your local emergency room and doctors, and you have everything set in stone correctly, you take a bite, nobody is going to hear about it. No one will ever hear about it unless you tell them.
Right. So, and I mean, that's why, you know, Miami, like for Miami-Dade, you have organizations such as like Venom One Fire Rescue.
Yep, and then they have the Venom Bank system, which is pretty amazing system.
Right, and that, I mean, that is fractional.
Right.
So, so this is, I'm surprised I didn't see you at the Denver Venom conference this year, because you know, what's his name? I forgot his name, but you know, there is so much about it that needs to be further explored. You know, the bank system is so small right now. A lot of it's expired,
Right.
but anti-venom that's expired, you know, still has a lifetime outside of its expiration date. So that's why, you know, certain neotropical, or not neotropical, but non-native snakes, it's so much harder to get the anti-venom for it.
Right.
And so there's such limited supply of that you would probably get expired anti-venom, but it beats the hell out of the alternative.
Right. I read a statistic somewhere, and it said that like 80% of initial anti-venom treatments on private keeper bites is expired anti-venom. It was like a stupid high percent of especially the initial dose.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless it's a native species, essentially a rattlesnake, cottonmouth, or copperhead, you have
Found it.
yeah, and you have you have these.
That found them up.
Yeah, Eric Vogel is actually who I've been reaching out to a lot lately. I'm going to be reaching out to the Kentucky Reptile Zoo as well.
Yeah.
Because it's the IMB license you have to have, correct?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. Just because just because I don't keep anything that needs anything super specific. And admin approved my post. That's cool. So,
well, I'm going to be starting the process here real soon. I'm going to be filming and documenting every step of the way and putting it on my platform so other people can see it. Because I agree with you there. I think that's an extremely important thing. That's why everyone wants to go right to the live feedings and free handlers. But I feel like creating more responsible keepers will do way more good in the long run. If you got people doing it right, if we don't have, if in a perfect world, if every venomous keeper did everything 100% the way they were supposed to be, no one would be hearing about any of the mishaps and accidents that happen on any job. I don't care what you do. You can be a school bus driver, a teacher. Accidents can happen anywhere. They hear about ours because the word snake's involved, just like the word pit bull.
Right, but I mean,
the more
it's
kind
of
that
the
we're
same
in
concept.
the public eye and the negativity, the worse it is for us as far as creating that acceptance from people.
But with what we do, it's same as you can't write it off so much as it's just snakes or it's just venomous, because
no, it's not. It's everything. They're coming for it all. I understand.
Right. What I mean is you can't write it off as that's the only reason that there's scrutiny, because it's just like driving a car. Yeah, you've got airbags, but you still wear your seatbelt. Or you should. But yeah, you still keep your eyes on the road. With what we do demands respect, so there should be primary, secondary, and tertiary plants. So taking away a hook, or if you're under house tongs, or compromising position, that takes away so much of your first amount of preparation. You can have all the preparation after free handling an animal, but you're still behind the curve. Prime example is the dude with the albino rattlesnake. He got anti-venom when he got to the hospital, but he was bit in the neck. He went into shock, and he died for it. So free handling takes away. It's like the 4 rules of firearm safety. It's like, don't always treat it as if it's loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Don't point at anything you're not willing to destroy, and then know your target and what's beyond it. That took me too long to say those. But so it's like me pointing a weapon at somebody with my finger on the trigger and saying, oh, but it's not loaded. Well, congratulations. Now you have 90% of negligent discharges. There's those 4 rules of safety for a reason. You follow those 4 rules, even if in the case of a technical malfunction, then you're still safe. So, you're free handling an animal, and, I don't know, something happens. First of all, it is an animal. But say you do something, you rub its scale the wrong way and it turns and it bites you, or the fact that it's an animal. I'll just stick to the fact that it's an animal on its own. At the end of the day, you can't say, oh, well, this one will never do this, because that is the moment, that is setting yourself up for failure. And so taking away all of that precaution especially on account of just for views, or, for what you're trying to do, you're going to do so much more harm. Just the risk reward of it, it's not worth it. And so having those precautionary things it's going to and why it's so important to judge people and to hold people to a high standard is because our hobby does deserve respect. And the minute it doesn't is the minute that these organizations get fuel for putting them on these lists and trying to outline it. So
no, and I see where you're coming from in a sense. I'm just a personal I've always felt real strongly about just because a couple of people do things in the wrong way doesn't mean that we should hold it. Just because someone drives reckless doesn't mean we should stop everyone from driving a car. You know what I mean?
Right, and I agree, but we should hold a person who drives reckless to a high standard. You
Right.
know? So it's like, try and do something irresponsible on a gun page, they will eat you alive.
Right. No, 100%.
You break one of those 4 rules, and it's like you get called out very quickly, and for good reason. And again, I told you I draw a lot of parallels to that, but in parallels to driving, it's like you speed, you get a ticket. It's like, even if you're a couple miles over, yeah, you're still at fault for a ticket. So it's, so if your wife's in the passenger seat saying slow down, then listen. So, and that's not to say, animal keeping, should be with 20-foot poles and whatever. I'm not trying to encourage things that, instill fear. But if you show that, it is a wild animal, but that it's not, but it deserves respect, that changes people's mindset as a whole. It changes people's mindset of, seeing a spider in the corner of their house, or, rather than going up and trying to mess with a black widow, they just, they realize that wildlife is there for a reason. And it's about the why of why you do things. So I honestly, somebody who free handles, I can't honestly believe they're somebody who free handles on social media, I can't believe their why. Because
all right, Zach, I'll see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Some snakes you have to free handle. Well,
all right, appreciate it, man. But yeah, the why of putting your hands on snakes like that. If you have a reason that is so strong, I don't think it's strong enough if you put it on social media. It makes it disingenuous to me. Because if your reason is even that strong, I think it would be strong enough to not encourage others to do it, or to not display a behavior that would do it. So even someone like Brave Wilderness, there's his episode with the bite of the Gila monster. And I question its ethics because of where the cut is, because it's illegal to mess with those Gila monsters in the wild. So he said, and if we take him at his word, what happened was that he was filming and the Gila monster came over and bit him. But I think there's enough question in my mind. It's like, why would he go looking for the Gila monster? It's like you address the why. Why would he go looking for the Gila monster when most of his, tons of his series, I think he's changed since then to a lot more educational stuff, but was getting bit, stung, different things like that. And then he turns around and he ends up getting bit. Because if people have been bit by Gila monsters, it's rarely just a bite and let go. They hang on. So, but the fact that his camera guy didn't, or his crew that was with him didn't film the Gila monster hanging on at all. It's just after the fact. I think that's to avoid legal trouble.
I just assume all of those shows are fake on TV, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he started on YouTube, and it's like, and right. I don't know him from Adam. I could be dead wrong and putting an egg on my face. It's like I won't put that past myself. But it's the same kind of concept. it's the same kind of question of like, why would somebody free handle on social media if it could encourage somebody from doing it in a unreckless way if they had strong enough reason?
Yeah, Grim, that's a retic in the background going crazy, falling over, knocking shit down in his cage.
Yeah, you got that swinging light there.
Yeah.
You should have heat panels.
Huh?
I said you should have heat panels.
Not in that cage. That's an old cages, custom cages by design cage.
So you can't put a heat panel on the backside?
I could probably put it on the backside, but they knock everything off, and that's just a temporary cage. I'm building walk-in cages for all my retics.
Oh, I meant outside the enclosure.
Oh, well, it's acrylic on all sides but one, and the one side's that melamine board.
Oh, I hate melamine.
Yeah, and that cage actually started on fire one time.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, if it's acrylic and melamine, I see why.
Get
away from melamine.
I hate that cage. Dude, that thing's like 40 years old. I'm only using it to
apart
hold them in the meantime, so while I build the wall of cages over there. I got some crazy builds coming on for all of my stuff. No, and it's not that I don't see where you're coming from. I just personally feel like, you know, it's not that they're just coming after venomous. To be honest, everyone wants to blame the free handling guys, but to be honest, they come after venomous the least. They're coming after everything down to a bearded dragon. They're
coming down to down to native venomous.
Well, this law is right now.
Enforced.
You know, this law is right now correct, but I mean, you take yourself and you look at how it's written. If Hawaii wanted to say, well, chameleons are invasive, so we want them put on the list, they would get put on there too. A free handler has nothing to do with a chameleon getting put on a list, and who's ever done anything to a chameleon to make people scared of it? They're coming after us regardless. I will say, see, and this is where it's hard for me because some people are just stupid about it, and I get on some people's asses. But I feel like the greatest way to relieve someone's fear from something or to maybe give them a fascination is, you know, to show them that it's something not to be feared. But to get to the point of like someone sees it and then they're going to go redo it. That's why there's warnings in the front that we're professionals, don't do what we do. And, you know, if you see the warnings, you see that, hey, this person's had years and years and years and years of training. This person has done nothing but work with these species his entire life. He's learned understanding and how to read them beyond anything, even me personally can fathom, right? And he's warned me that you should not do this. You should not do it how I do it. This is dangerous. You could die. And I just decide I'm going to go try it anyway. And then I get bitten, get died. That's kind of Darwin working right there.
Here's the thing, though. The same dialogue of don't try this at home, I'm a professional, is used at the roundups for their educational events. It's used before they, you know, like stress the snake out to where he tucks his head and they pick it up like it's a pancake. You know, that same dialogue, you know, is used. And I don't think, because I mean, you're right in the fact that they're coming for chameleons in Hawaii, you know, to use your example anyway, this time on the federal level. However, this isn't the only thing that we're facing. I mean,
no, I know that. I also know that, like, and I don't mean to sound like I'm like.
Well, no, and see, here's the thing is, like, I appreciate the fact that we disagree because I think it pushes things in a positive direction.
What? Right. You know, and I don't mean to sound like I'm on a bandwagon for free handlers, but there's never once in history, and I've quadruple checked this, there's never been a law introduced or passed due to a free handler or a free handler taking a bite.
Right. Hold on, give me just a sec.
Matter of fact, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure there's never even been a law passed because of a private keeper taking it. Exactly, Grim. That's what we have them for. You know. No matter what you do, there's going to be, good people, bad people doing the same thing. People, we got a guest here. I don't know how long.
Attract the money.
Sorry, daughter woke up.
Carol back?
So
Are you
at
kidding
this,
me?
okay.
Dude, so you want to hear something crazy that my son just found out? He's been over here this entire time tracking the money trail on the guy that
pages for
introduced this whole bill.
Actually, I'm gonna open secrets following.
One of his big donators
no,
was
it's actually opposing. It looks like
was Carol Baskin.
would have been opposing.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. Well, I mean, okay, if you look at, I've turned down TV shows in the interest of the animal, but the Cobra King, do you think they're gonna make reptile keepers look good when they do that show?
Oh fuck no. I mean, I don't know, but I highly doubt it because I know a lot of the people that are in it, and I know some of the stories that are going to be coming out. I know actually a little bit more than I probably should. I can't but probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's the pet industry joined by.
Then again, you never know because have you been on Joe Exotic's page? Like that guy's got more people still following and loving him that it blows my mind.
Right. Well, I mean, WWE in the 90s wrote a book called Controversy Creates Cash. But, it's about animal over cash. It's animal over views. I'll turn down so much and I won't do so many video ideas. I've been sitting on this video idea demonstrating the myths of snakebite visually, but I've sat on the idea for over a year now because I wanted to talk to Jim and Kristen Wiley. I wanted to, because it involves me messing with a snake. And I'm getting to that point where I'm getting ready to film and release it, but there has been so much consideration for that fact. So don't steal my video idea. It's copyrighted right there.
Everyone forget you heard anything.
Yeah. Well, hey, teaser. That's why, that's why I put these plugs in. Like, hey, see this camera lens? This will be filming some stuff. Follow me.
What's up, Todd? How you doing, man?
How's it going, Todd?
Not bad. Kind of been a busy night. Nobody hate on me. I'm kind of going to side a little with Max on this one because I've noticed what happens when you have a venomous escape, when you have a venomous bite. Some kid in Austin, I think it's 6 or 7 years ago, committed suicide with a cobra and then let the cobra go out of his car. Hundreds and hundreds of comments from people in the public saying, why are people allowed to have these animals? And my take on it is here in my community, we got snow, which I'm in Oklahoma. We're kind of a lot like Texas. We hardly ever get measurable snow. It's rare. This week, a kid sledded down a hill, went into the street, and a truck accidentally ran over this kid, a 12-year-old boy, and killed him. What was the community's response? Well, you have this huge flare-up on social media, but then the landowner puts no trespassing signs all over the hill, calls the police, and 300 other kids sledded down the hill the right way and didn't get hurt. So one person gets hurt, it affects hundreds of people. And I think about that in terms of escapes, in terms of, free handling. I'm not a fan of free handling. I don't jump on the I hate free handlers bandwagon, but it's stupid. We've got hooks. We've got tongs. Let's not be fools. Let's use our tools. My thought. Now, I'm from the old school. I'm from the 1980s, 90s AZA mindset. I understand people see some things differently than me, but at the same time, I kind of feel like some of the people that a lot of people watch is kind of putting a nail in the coffin, so to speak.
No, and I definitely see that, and then everyone knows that like one bad apple can ruin a whole,
Mhm.
pie. And I get that. I'm a firm believer, in using tools. I get that. I see certain aspects of it, and I understand it.
Right.
I understand, and I understand where you guys are coming from. Where like you see how, for me, I'm just looking at it from a point of a keeper. I understand what they're understanding. You know what I mean? But I do see how some of the public,
So
goes
in
the other
playing
way.
devil's advocate, what is their defense
What do you mean by that?
for free handling?
Well, other than this case of certain snakes where it's actually safer to use your hands than tools, uh, if you take you take a full size, full grown king cobra and you try and use a hook, and you're gonna get tagged. That's just gonna happen.
I mean, there's hook and tail techniques,
Not on a king.
but it's and on kings, like you have to remember kings, like they raise up 1/3 of their body length.
Exactly.
So a 12, 15-foot king, it's not looking at you down here; it's looking at you in the face.
Right.
So,
but I mean, so I'm trying to exactly remember how it was quoted. Where I started like understanding where certain people are doing it, and I don't think that everyone should be doing it, and I don't even advocate that people should do it. I don't free handle at all. Was on one of Dingo's videos when he was explaining like how he can, if someone sees someone holding something in their hands, right? It creates it takes some of the fear out of their eyes when they see that, compared to someone that's a professional, holding it with a hook, treating it as they should, as a dangerous, deadly animal, they're even showing a certain point of fear to it, compared to where they see something where it's in their hands being gentle and relaxed, even if, some of that stuff is manipulation of an animal. I mean, you take especially a good stancing cobra that's going to be really tricky on motion. It's really not sometimes in them scenarios, it's not necessarily so much a relationship with the animal as it is just manipulating the animal to where it doesn't even realize you're there. But, so from that point, I see what they're trying to portray, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that I think they should do it. I just understand what they are trying to portray to people. Like they're trying to take that extra point of fear out of it.
I understand the point you're making, Joe, and I understand what you're saying. Like, but like Max said, like people do the most insane things with rattlesnakes.
No, I do it, and I get it, and that's what I try to say in everything. There's good rock songs and bad rock songs, so I just, it doesn't mean I stop listening to rock music. Is where I'm
right.
at.
And you can tell me that flying is safe, but I'm still going to be inside of the plane when I fly. There's a reason, that there's a cabin. So, and there's a reason we use tools. And it's like, I'm all about facing fears, and that there is a reason you have skydiving is X amount of safe, but they still have the reserve chute. And it's like, and again, I like reptiles. I hate metaphors because I suck at them. But, but if you draw the parallels there, it's, I understand like the connection of the animal, because for the same instance of like, I was never in the military. So I can't relate to somebody who was in the military the way that somebody in the military can relate to somebody who was in the military.
Right.
That's a lot of redundant speaking, but I don't think that free handling an animal is what's going to make that connection for them. I think seeing that animal worked with in person is what's going to make that connection for them, especially responsibly.
Right.
and
But
that's
the
why
policing
zoos have
in here, though,
education
then
events.
where do we
That's why
draw
we
the line,
do.
though? You know what I'm saying? At what point do we draw the line? Is it just at free handlers? And then I catch hell not really online, but actually from like family members and stuff all the time with the training and the stuff that I do with my alligator. I mean, I literally crawl right into his water with him. And then the next, and a lot of people look at that as being just as negative as, say a free handler. So then, where do we go from there next?
And obviously the far other end of the needle is, so obviously it's like, don't free handle. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you don't have the snakes at all. We're not going all the way this way, but that doesn't mean right here's correct either.
Right. No,
So
I see you there. I understand both sides of it. Someone I just like to throw on the other side of it too, because I've been I like to take the time to listen to what everyone's got to say and kind of see their point of view, even if it's not what I do or practice.
right. Well, who free handles animals or relatively free handles. Oh, hold on. Sorry, getting rid of something. Okay, is Jim Wiley. He's worked out pretty well for him, but he's still missing fingers. So but his is 100% necessity. Like if he says, it's like, why do you put hands on that animal? Well, I need to save lives. Okay, you got me.
Right. What's up, Benji?
You mean Jim Harrison, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, Kristen Wiley,
Kristen
Jim
Wiley, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
I was thinking,
coffee's wearing off. It's almost midnight for me, so.
I understand, Max. And
Todd, did you do the Vice thing for the roundup?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, I was the other roundup video.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm familiar with your work, Max. I want to say I've talked to Nathan quite a bit in the past.
Okay. Yeah. No, I used to work a lot with him. Yeah. I haven't relocated rattlesnakes professionally in a couple of years.
Right.
But I mean, he was very, he's very knowledgeable. Like I learned a ton from him.
Yeah. But I think we're kind of at a juncture in time where we have to be selling ourselves as hardcore professionals. We can't be the kid that has a dang green mamba escape into an urban area. I mean, and once again, it doesn't really matter if it's a dog, a buffalo, a lion. The general public is not as scared of those things as they are of snakes. So me personally, I think that you just shouldn't free handle. It's stupid practice. I mean, I know a ton of people who have lost limbs over it. And then you also, like the 3-tier security system that's that's employed by AZA institutions. I think you should be looking at least 2 layers to where if the snake gets out of his cage, he's not going to get out of that room.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Right.
And in fact, Joe's cage is taking it a step further.
Exactly. And that's why I'm pushing Joe's cages right and left to anyone who will listen, because I think that's a step in the right direction for venomous keeping.
Max is working on a whole ad video for me.
Okay, good deal.
But he's slow.
Well,
he's busy.
Not only that, I need to get some fresh chop from yours. I got some warping on mine from.
Oh yeah, because it was in the sun over there.
When I was taking it back, yeah. So I've tried to do angles where it looks good, but that and I want stainless locks from you. Stainless locks and hinges.
Yeah, so what's crazy is I can't get those hinges in stainless. I can get the locks, but not the hinges.
Okay. Well, there's a coating too. I forget what it's called, but
Yeah, that's what my plan is to actually. Well, I have been doing it now from
Gary.
from now on. Basically, the last 4 months, everything gets coated, all locks and hinges.
Well, Joe, I've got a good lead on some high quality PVC as well. There's the two kinds. There's a kind that is cheap, and then there's a really good kind. I forget the names of the two. Coffee's worn off. Anyway, so I've got a good lead on some high quality PVC I need to talk to you about too.
Yeah, let me know. What's up, Benji? What time is it in New Zealand?
What's going on, everybody?
10 to 7. 34 degrees today.
Section of this bill is lobbying against
Celsius.
That makes
What's
me feel
that, 100 and something?
lobbying for
You
this.
Oh
guys.
my gosh.
Like, there's not a single person I can find that's lobbying for the bill. Everyone's for
Still
the industry
daylight.
joint council, which is against the bill.
I just sent in a bunch of signatures saying that you were a gangster
Still
bill.
daylight.
447,
Appreciate that, Gary. Every email helps.
I think.
I sent in over 100.
Holy shit.
They only make like 400.
I don't
That's
have
a lot.
reptiles. I don't have reptiles myself, but I support the people that do.
Gary.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to learn more about the cages, I was on Grimm's Live last night, and we talked all
Same
about
here.
them and
All right.
what they're about and what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
about. No, but I would agree, Todd. Like, I don't think people should be free handling. I just don't judge people by what they do, or I try not to. There are some out there that I've put my opinion on.
Well, and
Thanks,
and
man.
the other reason why I'm not on the Let's Bash Free Handlers trip is because anytime you hear about it, the first thing people do is they go to that person's channel to
Right.
see what's being talked about.
Right.
And my thing is we have ways to deal with reptiles
Thank you,
better,
brother.
safer. And it's like, why aren't we showing that? Why aren't those people getting millions of views? Why isn't Max's views? Why doesn't he have 500,000 subscribers? Because
Right.
he's tubing a rattlesnake or using tongs, which is responsible. Why are we not circulating around him instead of, Joe Freehandler with his Joe Freehandler channel?
Because
Right.
I don't
That's-
have tatted sleeves. That's 100% why.
Well, there's that. But doing things the right way, it's like it's never sold.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we going to trash everything over 30 minutes of YouTube fame?
Right.
I mean, I've got two channels. One has over 1,000 subs. The other has about 8,000 subs. I mean, could I make things more interesting? Yes. Do I want to? No, not if it's going to put the animal in a bad light.
And see, and like I used to blame a lot of my lack of success on just consistency, but one thing I've been really focusing on and doing a lot of studying on as of lately is really putting, because these animals, I think we need to remember is these animals are interesting and fascinating as they are. And so, I'll tell you guys, like I'm working on 8 facts about the rattlesnake's rattle, because there's some crazy things that, like even people who work with these snakes don't even know about. So like when I was relocating snakes with Nathan, like you sit there and you watch a rat chew on a rattlesnake's rattle when he's denned up. And the fact that he doesn't turn around and bite that rat because his venom production will kick on, and that increases his metabolic rate, and like he's trying to save himself, so he lets a rat chew his rattle off. Like that's cool. And so these animals are amazing as it is. You don't have to do these things to make these animals interesting,
Right.
And so that's one of the facts. You got to follow my channel for the other 7. But they but I think there's so many amazing things that I've looked into, like the content I produce, and it's kind of everywhere anyway. It's anything from photography to herping to keeping. It's like
Yeah, dude, the YouTube algorithm fucking hates you, Max. I swear to God.
Well, I don't have a one thing as far as content creators, and I'll talk to you guys as content creators go, is you need to write down who your audience is. You need to write down the first thing they do when they wake up, what age group they are, what they look like, what they eat for breakfast. It's like, and this new technique that I've picked up, I'm starting to implement on the video series that I have coming out is, you need to write down what you want to be said in the comment section. Because if you can get inside your viewer's mind like that, then you want them to say, say you're doing a video on PVC comparison, like let's smash it with a hammer. I'm speaking on your end, Joe, just like something like you would put out. It's like, okay, well, this is why venom-proof cages, this is venom-proof because this PVC alone, just this aspect of my cage stands up. And you want
doing?
Said
he's creeping in the background like he always does. He's
but you want written down
naked
in
with
your
the fucking
comment
deli
section.
sandwich.
But you want written down in your comment section like, hey, your PVC really stands up. I'm glad you made this video. It makes me confident.
Sounds like he's sucking on something.
Gary, move. No, I'm just I don't know, Gary.
Sucking on shit again. Stop sucking on things, Gary. Stop sucking your thumb.
But yeah, I mean, like, so as creators, I think because you can't just write everything off with the algorithm.
I personally constantly battle with myself when I'm making videos because I try to make them as exciting as possible to draw people in without putting the animals in bad light. Still, like, trying to throw in some education with a little bit of fun, and it can be like a tough battle sometimes.
Well, one thing we do, because we're on the inside of things, and I've been so guilty of this, and which is why I'm saying is like we think that we deserve a chance, like just up, like we deserve the viewer's time as it is. We deserve that view. You need to remember, like at the end of the day, it's like we've got to earn that view.
Right.
So whether that's through title and thumbnail, which I mean, Joe, you've been great at. Like you've been, like, I disagree. There's one I disagreed with, and and
I changed it.
Yeah, but they, but you've been very good about that. That and collaborations, like those are great for growth. But but when you get somebody there, you need to earn that view, and there's techniques that I could talk about, but it's like, because as a reptile guy, I don't watch a lot of reptile keepers on YouTube, because my interest as far as watching is like is things that I aspire to. And so if I see something in parallel in tandem with what I do, I'm less inclined to watch. So you have, and that's part about just knowing your viewer, so right. That's why.
And I'll say that's one thing that I've actually really put time into, especially with my thumbnails and stuff, no matter what the content is I know that I'm actually trying to attract non-reptile people to my channel. You know what I mean? Because I fall into the same path as you do, Max. I have a hard time watching consistent reptile videos, especially informational videos or educational videos on stuff that I've been working with my entire freaking life, and I've heard it 1,000 times.
So here's a problem with non-reptile viewers is they don't stay.
Most of the time.
Right. But they won't stay for the more educational stuff. They'll stay for the shocking stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So my videos on the inside, those are gonna, everything in there is for the reptile people. But my titles, my thumbnails, those are to draw in the newcomers or someone, sees something that looks crazy or interesting to them, you know, because it's hard, especially for us people that are trying to like put out positive messages and things like that. It's hard to draw the crowd
To break through the
without
ice.
pushing the limits.
So Todd, let me pick your brain. Like, what are some of the things that you consider when you're making content and putting out content?
One is I wouldn't say I'm camera shy, but like I don't generally get a lot of myself in my own videos. I want to show the animal in its natural habitat doing what it does. And usually I struggle with the same thing that everybody else does. We all want views. We all want, people to sub our channel, but the vast majority of us don't want to do anything that impacts the animal negatively.
Right.
And so like a lot of times there's a lot of like B-roll and stuff, and people are like, well, you need to throw that in. And I'm like, yeah, but I was too close in this scene. I put myself at a bite risk to get a certain angle or something. I don't want to advertise that to the world. I don't want to put that out there.
Right.
I'm not real big on the thumbnail thing. I'm sitting there thinking, I would rather have people shout me out and be talking about my videos than get in a bunch of people through the thumbnail. Now, I'm not saying anything's wrong with the thumbnail, but these are the things that go through my head.
Right.
And I just want to make like educational material that people can grow from and understand. And I want to aim it at, I do aim a lot of my stuff at non-snake people, and I frequent their channels, and I've got a lot of people that tell me you're the only snake guy I watch.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm resonating somewhere, and I just generally my videos. Now, once again, I have a fraction of the views that a lot of people have, but the footage I put out is, to me, it's fascinating, but to a lot of people, it's boring because there's not a lot of strikes. There's not a lot of risk.
Right.
If I end up telling a croat with a hook, that generally does not make the video. It's rare when I have to do that, but if I do, it's just not something that's going in the video, because I don't want, no matter how many disclaimers you put at the front of your video, some moron is going to go out there and do what you did, get bit, and then turn around and say, well, I saw it there.
Right.
And
I 100% see that. And I would agree fully that especially YouTube, TikTok, all the creators out there, we do hold a different level of professionalism, because we are the ones that everybody looks to, I'm not just saying us specifically, just YouTuber creators in general, and, TikTokers and all that. That's what the general world has to see of our industry.
Right.
They don't see the Alexander Englands of the world. You know what I mean?
They're about to. I put a little bit of what he talks about in a video I'm about to release. But here's the thing about Alex: you mess up once, even in a minor way, he will not work with you. Alex will cut you off, and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're talking about placing yourself and holding yourself to a high standard, like Alex is very blunt, because he holds the hobby in such high regard. And I've talked to him, and it's like, he's very like, however, I say that, but in my interactions with him, which it definitely isn't as much as a lot of people, he's been very soft spoken. And, it's like, I'm more of an extrovert. He's definitely more of an introvert, but but it's like, that's a big draw about Alex, is like, it makes you want to pick his brain more. It's like, okay, well, what can I get out of you this time?
Right.
But and his work with squams obviously is just amazing. I want him like Skittles. But going back to what you said, Todd, on, you're not big on thumbnails. Honestly, if you get to the point where like you put because what I've noticed with your videos, it's like, yeah, you have your pop videos, which do better. Like the snake bite in slow motion, that's always, that's always going to attract more viewers. But, and then you have your, your kind of your base videos, but your retention rate, you have a lot of subs from that. So it tells me your content's good. So, I mean, even if it gets to a point of like going on to Fiverr and like saying, hey, make something that will bring people to, and something that you like to where it's like low effort for you, but it's like, because you, like, in my opinion, you deserve those views. So, you have the subs and it's like, but even if somebody is subbed, it doesn't, and just Moon Over Miami, or like in Jackass when they have a snake bite somebody's penis. But it's, but yeah, no, I think you deserve those views, and like I'm all about lifting other people up, on the people who should be in front of more audiences, because we should work as hard or harder than those who do the sensationalism. And
Right.
And I'm not saying if somebody makes it big, they just did it off the back of sensationalism. There's a lot of very honest and responsible people out there, and I've named some of them throughout this podcast. But it's like, we're not the backbone of the social media by any means. But it's like, I would rather have 1,000 diehard, like, people who trust me fans than like or subscribers than 1 million subscribers. Like,
Right. I just want to do things the right way.
Yeah, for sure.
And show the snakes in a positive light, and try to veer away from like the sensational aspect of it. But once again, you struggle with the, I spent 15 hours putting together this video that's only going to get 200-300 views.
Yeah.
And I know the moment that I get that rattlesnake by the tail and hook him or something, it's going to draw more controversy, which is going to draw more views. But those views come at a cost.
Yeah.
And what's the cost? And with everything lining up the way it is, the AZA is getting involved with PETA. Wayne Pacelli is speaking at the national AZA conferences. Why is this happening? And read between the lines and look at where all this is going. We have to fight it now to stop it. Me personally, I will work with like kids. I'd swear to God, someone in Oklahoma is dropping these kids off on my front doorstep, and like, you're the guy for venomous mentorship. I'm like, do what? I broke my arm, getting a yellow-bellied racer out of my swimming pool. Are you sure you want venomous mentorship from me? But what I've noticed is that kids, a lot of these kids that find me, seek me out through my videos, contact me, they either think they're going to get rich by making anti-venom, which I tell them, I can put you on the phone with people that tells you it does not work that way. Or they want to work with something dangerous, exotic. They like gaboon vipers. Okay, who doesn't like gaboon vipers?
Yeah.
But the reason I only work with native venomous on a personal level is, well, one, I love the natives. I think they're truly fascinating. You can film a lot of them without having to own them. If you own them, the hospital down the street where I live has the anti-venom in stock, ready to go. Yeah, you're not ripping off a zookeeper who's going to have to go the next budget cycle without anti-venom for like a black mamba bite or something. And that's why I kind of push things the way that I do. I have nothing against people owning a gaboon viper, but are they willing to pay for one of your cages, Joe?
Right.
This
100%.
This is the point.
Yep.
Is any moron with $150, $200 can go get a gaboon viper.
Right.
But will they spend $500-$600 on a cage that's like triple escape proof?
Right. Yeah, that's like buying a Kimber 1911
Mhm.
putting it in an Uncle Mike's holster.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, and actually, I get that all the time. Honestly, I get people that'll even comment on my videos sometimes, like, "Yeah, those cages are awesome, but they're expensive." And it's like, well, if spending $50 more, or $100 more on a cage isn't worth it to you, then maybe you shouldn't own that animal.
Exactly. And that nails home the point of what I feel about things is like if ever I get one of my personal animals out and do any film work with it or anything, I don't do that without a secondary knowledgeable snake person on the scene,
Right.
start to finish. Now, does that mean I'm dipping into my wallet and getting $20 for gas out for, the 20-year-old kid that lives 3 blocks away, but yet, came up volunteering in the zoos the same way I did and has a lot of that knowledge? Yeah, okay, sometimes it costs me some money that I don't really have. But at the same time, if you're going to do something, do it right, do it responsible, do it with the right people.
Yeah. And it's like you see these trends with the animals pop up on YouTube and different things like that. Like one of the big ones I came across a couple of years ago is feeding all my pets. And I waited a year to do feeding all my pets video. In fact, I waited too long because it was sensationalism. There was no education. There was no, they were all the same, but it was a trend and they were getting a lot of views. And I had this video idea. It's like why I hate feeding all my pets while feeding all my pets.
Right.
Well, of course, the last February's freeze came around, and I lost my collection. And I lost a Yuma County Spec, gorgeous animal. Yeah. It was the one that bit Nathan, actually.
Oh gosh.
So his name was Bruce because just a bite,
Gotcha.
But like that's out herping, and that's when you're on a mountain, and bites happen because he slips on some rocks, and the snake tags him with a fang when his hand goes to catch himself while sliding down a mountain. Stuff happens when working with animals. But he still had a hook. We still had snake bags, and we still had a plan in place. Because if you know anything about the Taenius altus, there's not cell service out there.
Right.
But what you do notice is while you're driving driving the hour out there, is you see the glint of Border Patrol sitting on the mountains, so they're there. So it's about again primary, secondary, and tertiary things, or AZA has I forget exactly how you phrased it, the
three-layer level.
Yeah, 3-layer level. It's like, and that's good. You don't want to go into a fire with one fire extinguisher.
Right.
And I made a lot of tangents on that point, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it needs to be nailed home, in my opinion. I mean, it's like you really need to, once again, like I said, there's someone in the venomous community that hates me, and they drop kids off at my doorstep, and literally these kids want to be free handlers. They want to be venom production people, things like that. And it's like if they're into it for the right reasons, I'll talk with them, or work with them. But at the same time, I want to get rich off playing with venomous snakes. Get the hell out of here. It doesn't work like that. And, then it's like people don't want to. People have no sense of delayed gratification, like where younger
I'm a
people,
millennial. Hell no.
Yeah, younger people all the time hit me up, and I'll be like, look, okay, be at this state park at 6 a.m. because I can show you some stuff about venomous snakes in the field, and we'll make it happen, and I'll show you some things. And kind of, what that does is like, one, I'm not working with my collection. If something goes wrong, I'm not, we're just out in a state park and there's a copperhead over there. Well, and they're like, man, I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. It's like, okay, I mean, don't get me wrong. You're coming to me asking me to show you what I know. I'm willing to show you, but you don't want to clean tanks. You don't want to, help do this. You don't want to meet me at the hours I can do this or the hours the animals are available.
I mean, zookeepers are glorified poop scoopers anyway.
Right. Exactly. But at the same time, it's like,
Thank
there's
you, brother.
a reason why there's all these protocols into what they do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like back when in the 80s, when I was volunteering at our local zoo, someone had mentioned the king cobra earlier. We had this gigantic shift box to move in. And if you did anything, it was done like that. And, I mean, now once again, I was not involved in that, but I saw how it was done because that's back in the days before all the politics really crept into the zoos. You could get away with a little more.
And Joe, that's how you handle a king cobra without a hook, shift box,
Right.
Well, I mean,
or with a hook. Sorry.
right. And some people, put that kind of stuff out there, but I'm sitting there thinking, no, you get it in a shift box, you get it out, you get it on the table, you pin the head, I mean, and then the vet does her thing. Or his thing. It's just, to me, there's very much a disconnect between the generation I grew up in and the generation now that once again that they do anything for subs or views, and then other high quality content that's not sensational gets passed over.
So, a lot of people, to rally off of what you're saying, a lot of people I wish more younger people knew who's like not like who's an amazing content creator is Ray Morgan.
Okay.
He did like his interview with people who, are of the AZA mindset, and talk about their experience. It's like when you can piggyback off a proper experience, that like you're at such an advantage.
Right.
If you have a responsible or somebody like you where people can go and sit down, but you don't want somebody that you teaching somebody else the wrong thing.
Exactly.
So it's like in predicting things that are going to happen in 20, 100, 50, 100 years, if you have a small margin of error, yeah, in 1 year that's small, but in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, that margin of error gets a lot bigger.
A lot bigger.
So
definitely.
Benji is fucking that ice cream cone up. I'm kind of jealous of it.
By the way, hey, I told y'all I would talk shit about Sean. I had to buy a soldering iron because his drone controller when he was flying drove my drone into a wall because his overtook mine, and so I'm flying my drone and I've got to replace an arm on it.
What kind of drone?
Just be happy you still got your drone and the Secret Service didn't get that fucking.
Yeah. So talk about clickbait.
Yeah.
Egg on my face. But no, I had a Mini 2 at the time, and he was flying his Air 2.
Okay.
Well, of course, I hot glued it, but it changed the pitch of the blades, so it was a little bit louder. Yeah. And I also wanted the 5.4K video, so I went and I got the Air 2S.
No, I've got a Mavic 2 and a Mini 2. So
yeah. And the Mini 2 is just so convenient for so many things.
Exactly. But have you noticed, take it from venomous snakes and go to drones, have you noticed how many people are out there violating FAA rules, doing things they shouldn't do?
Well, mine was an accident. I did go through DJI to try and get clearance, but they did not communicate that, which I learned. And that's why I was like, in my video, I was like, hey, download Kitty Hawk app. That's the app you need if you're flying.
Right. But look at what they're doing to people who own drones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. People are being irresponsible. And then next thing you know, police roll up on you whenever you launch. And you're like, look, I'm in Class G airspace. It's non-registered. I'm legal to do what I do here. And they still try to give you a hard time because last year, some moron was trying to fly like over a police helicopter.
Yeah.
In a Class A airspace, and that's like totally off limits.
Yeah. Or the person who shut down the London, I think it was London Gatwick Airport for like 2 hours.
Right.
And delayed planes for the rest of the day. So it's, you're exactly right. Like the thing I kept on rallying back to, was, and as somebody who I actually want to get my private pilot's license.
Appreciate you for stopping in.
I want to get my private pilot's license. It's like, because I'm taking that next step, the last thing I want is a dumbass with a drone.
Right. Exactly.
And so
But-
it's like, and the last thing I think any of us want to be on is like, would you go on a herping trip with some of these people that you're defending, Joe?
Would I go on a herping trip with them?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think twice, man. I'd be on that plane so fast to make your head spin.
Well, I mean, you want to film him getting bit, but
No, but see, that's what the thing is I it's not just that. Like I look at them people from a professional standpoint, not like an outsider that has no like views on the industry or whatever and just sees it as craziness. I would love to pick their brains apart and like learn some of the skills that they have, not necessarily in the handling, but the reading of the animals and like just, you know, if I could read an animal half as good as some of these people do, it would blow my mind. But no, to go on a herping trip with them would be freaking awesome. Not all of them. And I'm not advocating for anyone in particular. I just look at both sides, every angle of it, you know.
I've been on a herping trip where somebody gets bit. It's not exciting.
Right. No, there's not.
Oh, it's exciting.
Well, yeah.
But
Okay. Well, it's
the
not.
suck end of exciting.
Yeah.
And-
So when they ask you for your IDs and it's like, okay, well, I've got my gun here. Can I reach for my wallet? And Border Patrol goes, "There's 9 of us here. You ain't gonna try anything." Like you're like, fuck.
Right. Well,
So-
and I filmed, and a lot of people are like, you know, why haven't you released this video? Well, you know me, Max. I filmed roundups, and I've done this for years.
Yeah.
And okay, I've got snake bites on video that the world has never seen. I've got, you know, Joe Yahoo trying to, you know, pancake a rattlesnake and pulls its head out of the coil and tags him on his finger.
Mhm.
Okay, I could get 1 million views with that. I can make some bank off that before like YouTube would shut it off. But what good's that going to do? You know,
Right.
I mean, okay, I'm going to make $2,000 out of the deal, but then, you know, millions of people are seeing a snake bite. It's not what I want. You know?
You did a lot with if I remember right, you did a lot with the pageant girls, right?
I was not there for the pageant. What Vice did was they wanted to talk to me about like things like pushing conservation measures and how like I factored into that and how like I did what I did. And then they butchered the final product so bad that they ended up calling me a snake activist. And, you know, just like, and tried to make it look like I, you know, like I go to these hunts undercover. I don't.
Yeah.
I just show up and they all call me PETA now. It's like we're all like old friends just because
Painting it with a broad brush, yeah.
Exactly. And you know, and one, you know, and things like that. But I was not at the pageant, nor was I there at the time of the pageant.
So the reason I ask
Mhm.
about that is because I jumped on one of the local news stations' ass because they interviewed one of the pageant girls who said that, and you can ask Nathan on this because like he read it too. She said that rattlesnakes do not feel pain, and she said that was published in our newspaper, or not in our newspaper, but our online news. And
Right.
I should have taken a picture for it. I should, and it's like I kick myself and I try and find the archives, but it's like, you know, I like that is the mindset that something these people are going into. And I, you know, I've wanted like I am tossing around the idea of getting like a panel of people together and then like publicly calling them out and say, let's sit down and discuss this live, you know, discuss the snake harvest working group, discuss how you convince or like that you tell, and that's what I did is I did go undercover. I told people that, you know,
Right.
everyone I talked to, I said, I'm doing and I wasn't lying. I was doing an outdoors video and I made it sound like I was more like, you know, I don't know, rural or redneck, I guess. And I just asked them questions. I didn't try and call them out on anything. I just, and I didn't try and edit in a fancy way to like blemish what they said. In fact, I spared. I spared a lot from that video to stay on point.
Right.
You know,
I'm
because
sure you did.
I wasn't about the ad hominem attacks. I was about, you know, the points I was trying to make. But
Right.
they said some dumb stuff.
It always happens like that. I mean, those are the answers those people will give you to those questions.
It's almost scripted.
I've been
it's
around.
like talking to Westboro Baptist Church, how scripted it feels.
Right. I mean, I go to 3 to 5 roundups a year and have done so for over 10 years now, and even at the like at the ones that don't collect venom, because a lot of the ones in Oklahoma no longer even make a show of it. They don't even do the venom extractions.
Right.
They'll
switch their mouth closed.
Right. Well, there's that, but they'll be like, like a lot of the snakes from some of the Oklahoma roundups get sold live, and it's like, where are they going to? And there's never really a good, clear answer for that. But a lot of them think that they're still going to anti-venom production facilities, which from what I can tell, they're not. But we have no real sight of them after they leave, like the Waynoka Festival or the Okeen Festival or the the Mangum Roundup.
And a lot of them buy and sell between each other too.
Right, exactly. And like one in northern Oklahoma uses the skins. They send the meat to the other one that happens like 2 weeks after, so they don't waste anything. And
right.
Of that I can say wow, but it's just kind of like like I said, your video, I watched your video 3 or 4 times at least, because I mean it's a subject I'm truly interested in. But it's just that's what people think, and they're going to think that anti-venom production is a byproduct of the Roundup for the next 50 years. I mean, you're just not going to get that out of people's heads.
And I had people from BTG. This was before Anavib was FDA approved. They approached me. They were like, "We passed your video around the office. Thank you for making it." And I was like, "Cool." Like that made me feel. Let me ask you: have you gotten any death threats? And if so, which one's your favorite one? There's some that are pretty, like, it's colorful. Okay.
Like, you interviewed one guy. I'm not going to mention him by name. He does operate out of the Nolan County area. I'll say that. You should be tracking with the group of yahoos I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay. I thought this guy was like Danny Mendez from Urban Jungles Radio. And he starts like messaging me, and I'm thinking it's Danny. And oh yeah, you're going and so I start messaging him back, like, oh yeah, really, you're going to kick my ass, you're going to put a 6 gun in my head, all this stuff. Here's my address. I find out later it's really one of them, and I'm sitting there going,
well, if he only uses a 6 gun, just get a semi-auto, and you have had him outgunned already.
Right, and I wasn't really worried about it, but I've had a lot of stuff happen because of my involvement in this issue. I've had people like threaten the governor of Oklahoma at the time, say it was me, and then cops show up at my job, and they're like,
see, I've never been swatted. That
oh God, yes. Oh God.
So,
I've lost 2 different high-paying jobs because I've been outspoken about this.
Yeah.
So and it's I literally, one was just a brutal SWAT where they were like, you threatened the governor. I'm like, I didn't threaten the governor. And they're like, we can clear this up. Can we look at your cell phone? I said, yeah, sure. Here, look at it. I mean, if you go into pictures, you're going to see a bunch of Heredis and Atrox. I mean, it's all we got in Oklahoma. We kind of suck, but hey, but it's just like, stuff like that's happened, and things. And I used to work at a manufacturing plant, and at this manufacturing plant, I didn't know that the guy who owned the entire operation was cousin of a person who was connected to a Roundup town that still had an active Roundup here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
2 weeks after like one spring campaign or something, I ended up getting the axe from the place, and I never knew why. And then later on, it came to light that that's what happened. I'll say that.
Right, and it was like under the rug, to where it's like, you know,
My battery.
you say something about it, and it's like it'll make you look bad, but it's
Right. And so really, I don't have a particular favorite death threat, but that one.
But like
Yeah.
the way they phrase it, it's very interesting, you know.
Well, and I think a
My
lot of those
battery's
people
nearly
are
done,
trolls.
Battery's
they're-
dying, Benji.
I've known one or two people that will
Yeah,
actually
It's
really,
good.
say some stuff, and I wouldn't doubt that they would put the meat behind it if things came to a head.
Oh yeah,
But at the same time, it's like I don't go anywhere unarmed. I don't go anywhere without security. That's one of the things that people, and I think they're aware of that too. I think they're like, he's here, leave him alone. Just let him take his pictures, let him do his complaints, let him do whatever.
well, see,
And
they kicked Danny out, right?
what happened is Danny had a bunch of people saying stuff like, we need to cut up the pageant bitches. We need to fillet them. We need to skin them alive. All this stuff on his Facebook wall. I told him, you need to chill that stuff out if you're flying down there.
Yeah.
And so basically he was trying to gain access to the pageant in 2012 when they stopped him at the door and just filed a criminal trespass on him and said, you're not coming in here. You're not coming to anything JC related. It's on private property. Fly back to New Jersey. See you later. And I drove down the next day. I wasn't planning to go down there that year. Literally. I just was like, I wasn't feeling it, but I thought, the guy got kicked out or, denied entry, and hopefully I can get him something. So I got him like the most horrendous video that I've ever produced. And that was what he used in his Sweetwater Rattled video that's still on YouTube
See,
today.
so when I said, if you make a video against it, you'll be threatened with criminal trespass, but that's because I saw his video.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh well, and so I haven't been back since. I don't think I could pull off the same stunt, at least not in Texas.
No.
But I've been curious.
I've never been to a roundup. What kind of crowds do these gather? Like,
you can imagine them.
Like similar to a Tinley show, or like worse or less, or
no.
Imagine like a country fair. Go to any country fair in America, and literally the same group of people to me would show up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rural thing. It's a rural phenomenon, and a lot of these kids. I mean, there are people who go there honestly to see like rattlesnakes and see different things, and you get the idea some of these people don't have the money to go to like a proper zoo, or they're not close enough to one. So they go here instead. But what happens at a lot of the roundups is generally overall negative outcomes for the animals.
Exactly.
well, right.
Well, we gotta mute that.
Wouldn't you see the round? Like, I see the roundups as more of a bigger problem, is creating negative light to the community than anything.
Oh yeah, well, but they also take rattlesnakes to the Austin Capitol, and they work their political muscle.
They are very adept at least in Texas. I will say this for Texas. I won't say the same thing for Oklahoma, but Texas, they get the right people politically lined up on the right side. People like the Sweetwater JCs, they're the most cohesive unit of people I've ever seen work together. Yeah. They have one goal, and that's to put on this festival, do what they do, make a lot of money, and then sell off everything and say goodbye for another year.
Right.
But once again, like these people, there's no if there's any infighting amongst them, you'll never see it.
Yeah, and it's like you can't it is so easy even for myself to write them off. It's like, oh, they're just a bunch of rednecks, they're just a bunch of dummies, but it's like they are very smart in how they go about things.
Yes.
Even down to the gassing issue. Yeah. Everyone started saying it's just the fumes. But you talk to people who've been on these trips, it's not just the fumes. You know,
Right.
even in the snake harvest working group, and that's why I was like, this is the document that's on their page.
Right.
But I mean, Joe, I mean, you go to this event, you'll see somebody there selling reptiles. That is an entire section I didn't include in my rattlesnake roundup video, was the sorry looking animals
Yeah.
that this guy had.
Yeah, it's
I'm
bad.
talking like bearded dragons with yellow fungus, like stuck shed across like large boas. You know, it's
Baby turtles,
oh yep.
nasty looking baby turtles. Bless their hearts.
Well, the ones that are going to be released into the park zoo, the pond.
Exactly.
So,
but yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a catch-22 as well, because like in Oklahoma, under a hunting license, 4 months of the year, you can legally possess any number of rattlesnakes.
right.
Well, that puts me in the clear to go off and do my videos or whatever, or to
You don't need
know,
the commercial.
right. I don't need the
Yeah.
commercial breeder's license and stuff to go do this video or mess with the rattlesnake in a park or something. And generally, you know, a game warden pulls up on you. He sees you've got a snake hook. He knows what you're about. But then again, it's kind of like the way the laws are written, it's like in possession of. So there's a lot of like different things where, you know, I've been approached by different herpers over the years and different keepers, and they've tried to get me to leave these people alone because, you know, the possession laws or the word possession is what makes it possible for them to keep their animals and how it's worded. And it's just, you know, it's just kind of a tough sell. I'm kind of further backed out of it today than I used to be. But at the end of the day, you know, these people get this thing sold off as responsible, you know, hunting. And, you know, TPWD has done what they can do, or for what I tell, they've done what they can do. On the subject in Texas, I think Oklahoma needs to do a little more. I know some people working on that, but they're kind of also keeping that, you know, under the wraps for the most part.
Well, Oklahoma needs to pay for its roads, so that's why they have all the toll roads. Is, you know, they're just trying to get some more tax dollars.
There's that. But you know, one thing that people don't think about is Oklahoma. They think about like Sweetwater. They don't realize the mangum hunt, which is like 100 miles north of Sweetwater, takes in 75 to 80% as many rattlesnakes as Sweetwater does.
Right.
And they totally write off the press. ABC is not getting in there. You know, CBS is not getting in there. Your local affiliates may, but they kind of like write off the press because I think they've seen the writing on the wall where the negative attention. You know, a couple of years ago, Mandy
over
Bailey.
here while they work.
Oh, you're fine. But Mandy Bailey was a.
Oh no! I was saying it's like look at Sweetwater while we do our thing. Right,
exactly. But like a Lawton, Oklahoma newscaster named Mandy Bailey got a lot of really negative press because she went to the Apache rattlesnake roundup and she held the rattlesnake that had its mouth sewn shut.
Mm-hmm.
At 2 different Oklahoma roundups, they do this to about 5 snakes a year, and it's just so you can get your picture taken with a live one.
Right.
But she got so doxxed and things that like the OSBI was like camping out at her news station and stuff. I mean, she was getting a ton of death threats from animal rights people and things like that. And I kind of thought that was it kind of made us look like in a bad light to a certain degree because, you know, like, yeah, this is illegal by Oklahoma law. It's illegal. I mean, Article 16, Section 1685. I've got it memorized. You cannot maim, willfully torture, you know, all these things.
But these snakes don't feel pain, Todd.
Exactly. I mean, you kind of nailed it, Max. I mean, it's like literally we took that measure and took it to like the county DA. They blew us off. We went to the state DA. They blew us off. It's like we got blown off all over the place, you know, over something that is illegal. And if it was done to a box turtle, they would have prosecuted.
Yeah.
I've seen kids get ticketed for throwing a box turtle up in the air and letting it crack on the street.
What the?
Exactly. But that is animal cruelty. But sewing a snake's mouth shut is not.
Blake Shelton can tweet, "I ran over an Oklahoma eastern box turtle on purpose."
Exactly.
So laws aren't, and that was my point when I first came on, is like laws aren't equally distributed.
Exactly.
But hey, remind me again, what was the name of that? Because that's one I think is worth visiting. The one that does the 70 to 80% of snakes.
Mangum. Apache has had some years where they've had a lot of snakes, a lot more than anyone thinks. Warika is down on the Texas border. One year and that was 2012 when I was down in Sweetwater. They took in 2,800 pounds of snakes at Sweetwater that year.
And they capped it since then, yeah.
Well, they said it was a bad year for weather, but 5,000 pounds of snakes shown up at the Warika hunt. Now, I'm sitting there going, did someone get mad at the JCs and decide to sell a ton of snakes to Warika? Because normally Warika takes in 1,000, 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
And and that's my whole concern at the end of the day. I'm not, I don't like cruelty to animals or mistreatment to animals any more than the next guy. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to find out how many pounds each hunt takes.
Right.
And, so, there's things like that, because I approach it more from the conservation aspect. Because, like Max cleared up for everybody, snakes don't feel pain. And, 99% of the public in your roundup states kind of think along those lines. It's a snake.
Right. So it's like, if they don't care about it on an individual basis, like I wanted to get people interested in the instrumental aspect. The snake is an ecological instrument.
Right.
One thing I've wanted to explore more is, these rat studies about rat populations exploding. Well, there's not proper, or they don't address the lack of snakes. And I know, again, with so many variables, a small margin of error can go a lot bigger. But you also, another thing I want to drive home more is it's the same reason that we don't have cottonmouths here in Abilene, but we have them 90 miles south. Yeah, it's the same kind of habitat, basically, but you have habitat barriers that keep them from moving from A to B. And so when you harm a population, you're exposing that population to something bad happening that can spread outside of that.
Exactly.
And it's not, because they go back to the year they took in, so many pounds that they had to put a cap on it. It's like, well, they're not having a problem finding snakes. It still hasn't been a problem, and they've been doing it 60 years. And I hate that argument because, first of all, they started in Nolan County, and now they're in 19 surrounding counties, plus whatever they might get from other roundups. So it's like they're expanding their reach. I've noted the one time, where that I filmed where they pushed snakes into a residential area.
Right.
But I've seen it with, there's a famous farm and a famous, basically the famous family, and they've asked me not to, because they work with a lot of rural people. They've asked me to not talk about the Roundup dislocating snakes on their property to one of their houses.
Right.
But it's happened to them, and they know it's happened. But they, obviously the Roundup carries weight with money and policy, so they work in that field, and it just wasn't worth it to them to go on record to say hey, they've caused us issues. Right. But I've seen it in Roby, Roscoe, Sweetwater.
Well, it's bound to happen though. If you gas their dens, they're never going to return to them, and then you end up with 60 rattlesnakes underneath the house.
Right, but the thing is and their famous line is, we gas the same dens for years. It doesn't always happen. So somebody can go on a hunt with them, and then can go to the same, because all it takes, if you, and that's why I hesitated using the word never. All it takes is one person to say, oh, well, I've been on a hunt with them and we went to the same spot both years and we got snakes. Well, okay. It's a little more complex than that, but it's not, you know, you don't use a chainsaw where you need a scalpel, and it is, you know, but it's about getting people to look past that first layer.
Yeah. And the year they took in the 25,000 pounds, I cried foul on that immediately because they hadn't hit over 15,000 pounds since 1982. I'm watching the numbers every year. They're about 3,000 to 8,000 pounds, somewhere in there. And so I start calling people I know in the Roundup community. Because, like, keep in mind, I've been going to these things for years. Some of them are on my friends list. You're gonna see that if you're my friend. But I started talking to one guy who's really kind of famously connected to every Roundup in Texas but Sweetwater, and he was telling me about how they were going to the dens down south, and they were paying a premium on rattlesnakes that year. They were going like south of San Antonio and actually screwing the local hunters who do the South Texas roundups to drag, tons of snakes to Sweetwater. And
because you also get bigger snakes that way. The ones just outside of San Antonio, they have a longer feeding cycle because of the climate there.
Because of the climate, right. But they were also like, putting like this, huge, like they were paying like $10 a pound that year.
Yeah.
Okay, of course, everybody is going to be out hunting. Normally they pay $3 to $5 a pound.
Right.
So it's just the economics of it all. And to me, it was a big dog and I thought it was a dog and pony show. Oh look, we topped our record. We haven't hit this many snakes in a dozen years, and then we had this big burst of snakes, and it's just I'm just sitting there thinking, I kind of see through all this, and then because I know hunters and have got to know like other commercial collectors and buyers, you see things and you put it together, and I'm really careful of what I let go of anymore because, like I said, people, start figuring you out as someone who will talk, then they cut off your information.
Right.
So, it's just, there's a lot of things that I see that I document that I just kind of keep in the notebook over there, and it's going to stay there for a while.
Yeah. I mean, until it's like, it's real ammunition,
Yeah.
Same as, so, because the thing about it is like, you don't have to look hard to start seeing how the rattlesnake roundup argument falls apart.
Right.
But the thing is, like, when we get to the level where it's like we have to explain something to explain something else to explain something else. And it's like it falls apart in this way, and this way too. But this is why you need to pay attention. And to get people interested in that, it takes so much extra effort. But like I said, you like on a base level, you're working with people who say, like some of the arguments you heard where it's like it's mostly females. No, it's not.
Right.
For like they're not leopard geckos, they're not sea turtles. Like they don't like temperature doesn't like regulate what sex they're gonna be.
Right.
So.
Well, and the other side of that whole issue, and one thing that I've noticed is like a lot of people on pro snake Facebook pages, Instagram, things like that, they're putting out bad information too. Mm-hmm. And I think that needs to be addressed. I can name one of the biggest groups on Facebook. I'm not going to do it because it'll start a whole storm of other stuff.
Said this.
Yeah, exactly. Leave me alone, Max. But literally,
hey, your channel blew up.
This person said the Atrox was extinct in Texas. I reported the comment to the admin because I was like, that's nice propaganda to have out there if we're wanting to save the lives of these animals, but it's not accurate and can be used against us.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of the other thing is like, there's like 14, 15 roundups in the Texas-Oklahoma theater. Only 2 of them do venom extractions, Sweetwater and Mangum. The guy who does them in Mangum is one of the same guys who's over in Sweetwater. I know him. I mean, I've been to both of them. I've seen him in both places. I know who he is. I mean, it's just, are they doing something with the venom? I think they are. It's just not anti-venom production.
Right.
You know, I think they're selling it to a chemical company or something, and they're using it to like get paint off walls or something else that you use something that has those kinds of enzymes for.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's not FDA approved. You know,
Right.
And so like these claims, it's just, and like, you hear it time and time and time again, and it just, I have a copy and paste notes folder for when I see these arguments, because
Right.
it does take so much time to address the same dumb stuff, and you get the same arguments back because of freaking Dunning-Kruger. So it's like I have my copy and paste almost conversation ready to go. So
Exactly.
so so like if you haven't already, build yourself a little archive of like,
Oh yeah.
they're gonna say this, so you know, just copy. And I mean, it's
So let me ask you guys this question: why do you think like an organization like USARK hasn't done anything to try and go against something like the roundups? I mean, in light of the fact that it's bringing so much negative light to the community, which doesn't help either.
I think it goes beyond their scope just a little bit. And I think there's other organizations better targeted towards stopping the Roundup. If you think about, you know, like if you think about the laws and legislation and where USARK works, it like their realm, you know, it's like they're working on land and the Roundups is working on water. Right. It's just two totally different battlefields.
Because that's what I see. Like for me personally, I see that's where the big problem comes in, because USARK's there to fight all the the laws and stuff and keep them out of legislation and do all that part of it. And then when it comes to the things that are causing, whether it be free handling, whether it be the roundups, whether it be live feeding, whatever it may be, everyone just says, well, just police yourselves. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there needs to be something out there that is actually legit's goal is to work towards the things that are creating the negative outlooks, besides just everyone police themselves. Because everyone, how does everyone police themselves when everyone's got a different output?
So another, like, what, and Todd could probably speak a lot more to this than I can, but nobody's like, try and convince somebody to radio telemetry and Aatrox. Radio telemetry is a $5,000 system per thing. Right. And, and survivability of snakes is, and Western Diamondbacks are not high risk. So like the funding research, it's going to go elsewhere. And that's why, the techniques that I've used, like a natural color fingernail polish on the base rattle, certain things that's like that help me in like the relocation and like making sure like I do like good things, when I work with snakes out in the wild. And it's like, oh shoot, these headphones are about to go. I gotta swap.
They don't get a lot of conservation money.
Right. And so like that effort, like there's no numbers on the books to fight. So you have one hand tied behind your back.
Right. I'm just saying, because I just feel like that's why we're constantly in this vicious cycle of, every year, every couple of years, we're fighting something like what's going on right now, because there's no clear path to prevent all of the negativity that everyone else sees in the community, no matter what it is.
Right.
So our biggest weapon,
fix the base problem.
So our biggest weapon is definitely education. So internet's a lovely tool for that, because there's a point in any movement, it's called it's some kind of tipping point, and where you get enough traction and support behind you, where enough people know, like, honestly, we need a Netflix documentary is what we need.
We do.
It's like, because if you've ever seen a Netflix documentary, one of my favorites, where like it's John Green or Hank Green, John Green, and it's called "Don't Fuck with Cats," and
That's
it's about
the
the woman
ever.
And you saw how the internet, like after it got to a certain level, rallied, and like you had people coming out of the woodworks, for a cause. And so it's like, as we get our message and like get support on that end, that supports
And Max's battery is exhausted. I wonder if he's going to be able to plug in.
I don't know. But that's what I mean. Like it's a constant vicious battle in a circle.
But Joe, think about this. Okay, to stop something like a rattlesnake roundup from happening, USARK is going to have to come against possession laws of a native snake. Okay, you know, it's kind of one of them areas. Is USARK going to be against ownership of an animal?
Right, and that's what I mean. Like it's a vicious circle, and everyone points their finger at every different angle, and I feel like every little piece of them has a different part of it. You know, it's not, you know, solely the free handlers. It's not the live feeders.
Right.
It's not the roundup. It's the little bits of the inclements all together combined up. But, you know, it's hard to fight any one of those without taking away other rights that keep all of us going, just like you just said. You know, like if you go after the roundup, well, then you're dealing with possession and collecting and, you know, shit like that. It's a vicious circle. So it's like, how does everyone balance it?
You know, and I don't know that we have an absolute answer to that, but feeding off what Max said earlier, these people got their, you know, the laws that govern things like roundups were written in the 1950s, the 1940s, some in the 1960s. And what they do is that the laws are slided to the side of the people involved in agriculture, the people involved in oil production, things like that. So, you know, they work with these people, and once again, it's like, you know, there's grocery store chains in Texas that have like put their support behind roundups in Texas. And when you write them to say, hey, you know, I don't want to really go purchase my 7-Up at your store if you're going to support this kind of animal cruelty, right, they say, well, that's fine. We don't want your business anyway. You know, if you have concerns, call so-and-so at Texas Parks and Wildlife. And it's someone that me or Max have probably talked to 1,000 times.
Right.
And they've done what they can do. They've probably put their own neck on the chopping block because they've done what they can do. And it just falls flat from there. Public support is a huge thing. I mean, look at the fact that I've got a neighbor 4 houses up from me that lets a pit bull run the streets. And this thing it's not a vicious animal. I don't think it's going to bite anyone, but it runs up at people. So the whole damn neighborhood's scared of it. Okay, but it's a dog.
Right.
You know, if it was a copperhead, once again, I've got a copperhead den on the backside of the hill that goes down from my house. But I can't legally keep one in one of your locked enclosures here without 50 pages of paperwork, a signed permit, this and that. You know, you get into all this government not making sense business.
Right.
And really a lot of that comes to play. And like with stuff like the roundups, it's like, okay, if they were taking the snakes back out into the wild and dumping them back in the wild by the hundreds, it would, you know, that's when your game departments would probably want to shut it down because snakes would be even, you know, would get more dislocated than they are.
Right.
And, you know, and we all know that rattlesnakes use ancestral dens. They like to use the same dens year after year and things like that. So, you know, it's like, that's why it's best to not relocate a rattlesnake if at all possible. But, you know, that's why the answer is killing them. And then the game department doesn't have to mess with it. And that's another thing that often gets overlooked is if you tell Joe landowner he can't kill rattlesnakes or he can't let his land get hunted for rattlesnakes, the moment his dog gets bit, the moment anything happens, he's going to be on the phone with the game department demanding they do something. And the game department's like, we don't have the, you know, resources to mess with this. They can't go run all across West Texas or West Oklahoma every time, you know, someone calls in a rattlesnake. So they let the rounduppers just do what they do.
Right.
You know. Welcome back, Max.
Thank you. Is there any sort of echo as of right now? I don't have any headphones on.
Nope. You're good.
Okay, cool.
Oh, you're crystal clear. But yeah, that's that's kind of what I was getting at is like, you know, the Max, you said that the key to like fixing this is to get the education out there, but then how do you get the message out? So I guess to re-answer one of your questions from before, what's the benefit of what they're doing? Like the certain free handlers, they're bringing in people that normally wouldn't have came in because maybe that crazy act of irresponsibility was why they clicked on their channel, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them that learned so much more and learned respect from it that would have never came to that channel that way. And that's where I think that that's why I try not to get on the anti-anything bandwagon, because any reason that someone comes into here and gets an understanding is good for me.
I'm just not sure that that's what they're getting out of it.
And
And
I think with some people they can, because this is what I've seen, and Max may hear me out on this one, but like several years ago, this guy who's from Pennsylvania wanted to break a guy named Jack Bibby's world record of being in a bathtub with, like, he wanted to do 200 rattlesnakes.
I saw Jack Baby driving the other day. I flipped off his limo.
But anyway, he had held the Guinness Book of World Records at like 120 rattlesnakes. So this guy gets his bathtub. He goes to a roundup in Oklahoma, and they fill it with over 200 rattlesnakes. They throw in a copperhead too for good measure.
Of course.
Okay, now, like at the roundup, I totally disagree with this. I'm like, dude, you're going to die. It's been nice knowing you. You know, it's going to suck when you get bit. That's why they're already marking you. That's why the ambulance is backing up to the building before you even attempt this. Like the medics and stuff go on to work, because this guy's like almost sure to get bit. But like hundreds of times throughout that presentation that I filmed, and I was going to be there and film it if he was going to do it. That's what I do. So I document this stuff. But, you know, people asked over and over, how is he not getting bit? And hundreds of people are saying, well, they're not aggressive. They won't bite you if you leave them alone, you know, and stuff like that. So you see how something negative can generate some form of positive education somewhere, but is that the message everybody takes?
Right. No,
You know.
exactly. And that's where it's a double-edged sword to me. And that's why I always try to stand on the fence, because I see the negative side of it, but I also see, I mean, you take someone, I know you don't know his channel very well, Max, but you take someone like Dingo. He's got 500,000 subscribers. You know, that's a lot of people that are getting really, like, if you check out his channel, you'll see, like, the information that he puts out there and how he talks about the respect and, and education of the animals is such good information. You know, for me, I say, okay, it's okay that, he pulled out that one snake and and he did it in a certain way, because, a few people might look at it and be like, that's stupid and reckless. Look what he's doing. But thousands of people might say, hey, I want to check out what this crazy guy's doing. Oh, wait. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that before. Oh, now I'm not scared of snakes and I love snakes, and now I got 15 as pets,
So here's the thing about that is, in psychology, like when you're getting someone over a fear, it's not making them less afraid or not afraid. It's making them more brave. And so what I mean about that is like, for instance, I heard the story, and if you guys know where I heard the story, like, I don't want to get into like the politics of like podcasts, but there was this guy who was so afraid of needles that he had mouth surgery with no pain medicine. So he was terrified of needles. Well, he goes to see the psychologist, and basically, when you are working with somebody to make them not to make them not afraid, but more brave, he said, okay, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna show you pictures of needles. And so it's like, obviously, it's like, even if somebody's afraid of snakes, they'll look at pictures of snakes. So here's pictures of needles. Okay, well, next time when you come in, I'm gonna have a needle over there on the shelf. But before we do that, like with the pictures, he says, no, I want you to tell me to put it away. all right. And so, and he did that like about like 10 times. He said, okay, put it away. And he would put it away. And then 10 times he said, okay, I want you to tell me that you've had enough. And I want you to leave. So he would say, I've had enough, and leave. And so what he was doing is he was getting his mindset out of the prey mentality. So the fact that he was in control, he was in a better headspace because he wasn't, worried about being like he knew he was still like in control, and it put him in a better headspace of relaxation. So next time he comes, it's on the shelf, and he gets it to the point, it's like he looks at it, with the cap on, and then took the cap off, and he would be able to like touch it to his skin, and then the touch it to his skin when it's covered, which of course the unknown, it's like the first time a person holds a snake, it moves in a funny way. They're like, "What's it doing?" And they want to give it back.
Right.
That's the unknown barrier that they're going over. So, but the point is like your lack of fear isn't through you not being afraid of it. It's about having knowledge and you're more brave for it because it's like you understand the real risk. And so, but it doesn't mean that with venomous snakes that there's not a risk. And so I think that's, and that's my big thing with these people who free handle. I don't think that's going to be the thing that makes somebody not afraid of snakes. I think
no, and I'm not saying, and that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, what's a better way to put it? Okay, you could have the best message in the world, like the greatest message in the world, but if nobody hears it, it's completely useless. So what I'm saying is it's a way to draw people in, like a bait and switch type of thing. Now there's certain channels that take it to the next level, and I get what you're coming from, but that's where I'm at with it. Like, I understand using their skills and their knowledge to make something look like it's more scary or whatever, to draw them in, and then to drop that knowledge on them in between. And I think certain channels do that really, really well.
Yeah, I think a copperhead.
I'm free handling my venomous snake.
Right.
Yeah.
It's close to being a copperhead or a coral or something.
Yeah.
Joe, I hear what you're saying, and I see where I don't want to say people in other cultures might that message might resonate with them more, but in dealing with the United States, it just seems like something happens and then hundreds of people pay for the mistake of one person. Like
I agree with that 100%.
There was recently, he was a friend of Dader Alfair's in Africa, and he worked and he did what Jim Harrison does here at the Kentucky Reptile Zoo. He does professional venom extractions, and he was working with a black mamba, and he did take a bite. He did die from it. It was very, very unfortunate. I can't remember the guy's name, but at the same time, it's like over there might not be this like reaction to ban, privatize, do this, add more permits, get more government involved in somewhere in Asia, somewhere in Africa, maybe somewhere in Australia, like there is here. And so that's where it's kind of like this weird gray area to me, because that David's Feeds guy, I mean, like, I totally don't see how he does it, but at the same time, if he's doing that and that's in his country and it's not illegal there or whatever, I mean, I still can say that's not the best practice for that animal.
And to spawn a couple things off your point, Todd, is like one of the things that we haven't touched on actually is corals. Even with the misnomer, with the best intentions of properly identifying a coral, that has gotten people bit because people have gotten it wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you're treading that line of okay, well, it's a bait and switch. Well, you're inviting the door for the people where it's not bait and switch. Even Road to Hell is paved with good intentions. So even with the best intentions, people can still get it wrong, and
Right.
and you get a big negative reaction. And then on the other point you were making, Todd, and it's kind of ironic because in other countries, snakebite is been determined by WHO, World
Right.
Health Organization, as a neglected neotropical disease disease, and it claims like 500 or 500,000 lives worldwide. Or
Yeah.
no, I'm getting my numbers wrong. A
I
lot.
want to say 50 to 100,000.
Yeah, and so it is a much bigger problem in other places, and a lot of that is just access to proper medical care, which is why like I'm getting as involved as I can with ASF, is just because like a little bit of investment goes a long way. So let me ask you guys, how much do you think it costs to build a medical clinic in Africa?
In Africa,
Yeah,
I honestly,
take a guess.
I'm going to say 5 million. I'm just going to throw it out.
Okay.
Scientific wild ass guess, but
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah,
going to
what
say
about
5
you? Like if I said, hey, we got to build this clinic in Africa, how much do you think it's going to cost?
well, I've seen some of the pictures of the clinics in Africa, so I'd probably say somewhere around 25 to 50 grand.
Okay, so so BTG sponsored a clinic in Africa, and and just the building itself, like it costs 50,000 for everything inside, like for a whole clinic. Like there's been I think there was, like, there's not solid numbers right now, but that I've heard, but you can do a whole clinic, get it up and running, and I think a number I've heard is $80,000.
Right.
So
Which is
it
crazy.
is, and that is to get supplies and everything as well.
Oh, wow.
Because something as simple as like being able to intubate somebody will save their life. Head positioning, like the small things like will save lives, and and the footage that like that I have access to, that I want to start, like that I'm working on editing and starting to put out for them. I mean, it is like brink of death brought back to life, and then out of the clinic walking and talking in 5 hours. Like, it is amazing.
No, I've seen some of it. I follow the Asclepius Snake Foundation pretty heavily. It's amazing.
They have a lot of it under wraps.
Right. No, I'm sure they do, but even the stuff that they put out is just insane.
Yeah, and so I edited the footage of Fetma, which her name is, I forget the long version of her name, and I mean she bounced back, and I mean she was up walking, talking, with her family, but it's like listening to these guys is just amazing, because it's like and if you guys were at Arlington NARBC last year, I said, hey, here's $200 because that's all it takes to save a life for anti-venom, and I gave it to Brent, and I think we raised like $4,000 in 15 minutes, and it's like if you think about what that can, like what that impact can do, it's like, but yeah, no, but my whole point with this is it's like it's such a bigger issue over there, but but at the same time, it's like knowledge is such small things such as knowledge or medical things will go so far, because a lot of people will get bit by a non-venomous snake, go to a witch doctor. Well, now they think this witch doctor, does good work.
Just cured them. Right.
Yeah. And then there's people, they can't afford a medical doctor, so they go to a witch doctor after they're envenomated and they die.
Right.
And so, like a little piece of misinformation is a big deal. So, anyway, long story short, information powerful.
Right, and that's what I mean. I think the key, you hit it on the head earlier, Max, is the key to stopping this vicious cycle is getting the education out there. But then we come back to the double-edged sword, is how do you get the information out there without
we call
more
Leonardo
negativity?
DiCaprio and have him produce a Netflix documentary.
Right.
Well, honestly, one
Constant
thing
battle.
one thing I think we need to do is like, and you see this all the time. So someone who has influence gets into it with someone else who has influence, and we're showing the animal rights crazies where the dividing lines are. We're putting valuable
They're just picking
information
prod at that.
they know how to use, and we're putting it right in their lap. If you're on Facebook and you have friends in the reptile community, I mean, I would just be willing to bet you $50 that you've got 3 or 4 people that look like Herpers, and they're actually people from PETA, HSUS, World Outreach for Animals, things like that. I know this because I've had friends that worked for those organizations, and I've met them on my way to where I am now. So that's, I think, like if I disagree with Joe or Iron Dog or Max or someone, like, keep that under wraps. You know, don't show that there's a chink in the armor here, and put forth a united front against these insane keeping laws that they're trying to establish.
Right. No, I'm
just a thought.
Well, see,
That's where
Todd,
I'm at.
what you
I
said
feel like
makes
there's-
me I'm gonna make a meme tonight, and I'll probably share it in the morning. And
Okay.
it's like HSUS, and you know, like in this bill, it's like, no, let's police ourselves. And then like on the other end, it's like the rattlesnake roundup. No, not like that. It's like we have to walk this line because and here's your soundbite, Joe, is just like all bits of politics, everything is so far in one extreme or the other. You know, we have to ride that line of sanity, you know, to where we say, no, this is wrong, but this is also wrong. You know, we can't go too, the needle's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Right, but the problem is us guys in the middle are the ones that get beat up the worst, because then both sides hate you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but if you have too much of anything, it is, you know, so even government is a line between freedom and control. You have too much freedom, you have anarchy. You have too much control, you have communism. So, you know, it's about finding what, like, and it doesn't, you know, just because one is wrong doesn't mean the opposite is right. So it's about finding, you know, where things need to be, and the extremism on both sides of things. I mean, you're right. Like what you said earlier, Joe, it's exhausting.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to keep track of what I'm supposed to approve of.
Yeah.
Well, but we're going to forever be in a dilemma because we like snakes.
Exactly.
I mean, if they try to ban dogs tomorrow, they're never going to go there because they know they're going to get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of talk in the reptile community about feral cats. Okay, once again, there's millions of cat owners out there. The HSUS isn't going to pick on them because they know there's millions strong.
Because they know that you don't fuck with cats.
Well, there's that, but there's these things, I call them socially acceptable animals. Like, I've seen a ton of cattle. I grew up around rodeo. I've seen more people injured by cattle and horses than I've ever seen by venomous snakes. And I go where the people are doing the stupid things with venomous snakes, drunk, high, whatever. I mean, I go there and I seek it out. I still see a lot more injuries come from rodeo, but at the same time, no one's saying ban cattle, you know, because it's a socially acceptable animal.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it.
The snake
this
is
has
not.
actually been a great panel. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
We went so long. Like, I normally go 2 hours. We're at 3 hours and 18 minutes, and it's just been like the best topic discussion I've ever had on my platform, I think.
And I don't know if Max will agree with me, but because so much of the general public is petrified of snakes, we have to go that much further.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Responsibility, education,
and I think, and here's the thing: is like, we shouldn't look at that as a burden, because wouldn't you rather be looked at as a professional in your industry?
Yes.
And that's a big thing about, like, you know, about mindset. It's like, yeah, this person is, and it's about every time I've been offered a TV show or somebody, you know, or the idea of showing a bite or free handling on camera, it's like, I would rather be regarded as a professional among my peers, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
because
and I'm with you there. Like I said, I do things, the right way, and I try to portray that the best I can in my videos.
right.
It's just everyone assumes that I'm against everyone else, and I'm not against everyone.
I'm against you, Joe. You're leaning too far to the camera. Like, I can smell you. I can smell you.
Like, I smell good. I took a shower last week.
I once had somebody, like, we were trying to describe you, Joe, and I'm going to rip on you just a little bit. And it's like, I was like, I like Joe. He's a great person, but how do I describe him? And I don't remember who told me, and they were like, Wisconsin hillbilly? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, but it's like, it's a persona you rock, and I think, it's not that you take pride, and you don't envelop that in who you are, but it's like, you're like, this is me, and it's like it's a very good thing because it instills a lot of confidence in you, but it's
right.
People aren't expecting what you have to provide, but you're definitely like, and I say that, but it's like probably Danny anytime he comes down to Texas is like, what am I surrounded by? A bunch of people who like Buc-ee's, the gas station.
Dude, Buc-ee's sucks, by the way.
Those are fighting words.
You didn't go there.
Yeah, the next thing he's gonna say is that he doesn't like Shiner.
No, I like that.
And I'm a fan of Buc-ee's, but
I'm from Wisconsin. There's very few beers that I drink, and I'm like, nah, I don't like that. But what's funny is I don't even drink up here. Like maybe once a year in my own state do I drink. I've drank with Max more times in a year than I drink with my friends in my own state.
Yeah, no, herb shows are where, like, if I drink, I'll drink there because I've got 3 girls and I got a boy on the way. Drinking it's not a thing I do.
Right.
I've got
NyQuil's
6 years sobriety, so.
Yeah, see, well, even NyQuil's not a thing I do anymore because it's like I can't be tired and sick. I used to love being able to sleep through my entire sickness and then, like, eventually wake up. It's like I wake up and I'm like, I can drink some Gatorade now, but it's like I have to be conscious when I'm sick now. It sucks.
Right.
Yep.
Adulthood will do it to you, Max.
Yeah. Well, I'll be 28 on Friday, which I guess technically is tomorrow now.
Oh, God.
But, and everyone always tells me, it's like, oh, you're still young. It only gets faster. It only gets worse. I'm like, shut up. I don't hear it.
They're right.
Wait, Max. I slept funny 3 nights ago, and my back ain't been right since from sleeping funny.
Yeah. Well, in fact, more people die falling out of bed every year than venomous snakes. Yeah.
Well, my son just came down and he gave me an interesting fact that he looked up, and the number 1 injury at zoos is actually caused from zebras.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Zebras,
I believe that. Zebras are dicks.
Yeah. Zebras are nasty. I mean,
there's a reason we don't ride them. So I worked as a CS worker for a while at my local zoo, and there was a young male deer, and then there were 3 larger female deers, and like they dropped in the hay, and he walks up to go get some food. One of the females just turns around, kicks him in the face, and he walks away like, all right, I'll eat later, I guess. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, zebras suck.
More scared of those than most animals in the zoo, I will say that. I mean, you treat them all with respect, and me having volunteered when I was a teenager in the 80s at an AZA zoo, you go through all these rules, and today the kids don't even get to do that. The teenage volunteers, they get to walk around and pick up trash. They never get to go into an enclosure and scoop poop. I mean, literally, I would rather mess with an elephant or a king cobra than a dang zebra. Zebras suck.
Yeah.
See, I don't fuck with geese. I've been attacked by geese more than anything. I grew up on a chicken, like a bird farm, like chickens, geese, ducks, all that.
I saw a video the other day. A goose tries to walk up to a horse and do its goose thing, and the horse turns around and kicks it, and it like slides and its neck is broken. It was a bad video, and I wasn't expecting it either. I was just like, oh, like nature's amoral. It's like as bad as things can be, it's like we have to remember like how lucky we are. First of all, the country we live in, like the fact that we're human. In our case, like economically, I've not been fortunate. Like I'm on the poorest, like my aunts and uncles, and then my aunts and uncles. It's like I got the poorest kid on each side of the family, and those are my parents. So, but it's like at the same time, it's like there's a lot of luck that like we have, being who we are. So it's like, in fact, just being human, because you have to remember nature is amoral. Like nature just doesn't care. But and that's why I think when humans get involved with nature, we have an extra responsibility. So, in fact, like ants, like when we introduce ants to an island, it destroys, more cats, for flightless birds. So, or in fact, a good thing that I didn't include in my video, talking about HSUS and these animal rights groups, is a Puerto Rican frog. Right before the hurricane hit, there were a lot of zoos trying to do breeding programs with the Puerto Rican frog, because there's 17 different species. It is the symbol of Puerto Rico. And of course, you have human-animal interaction. So there were these breeding programs trying to save a lot of these species. And of course, the red tape that the animal rights groups threw up, it delayed the whole project until Puerto Rico got hit by a hurricane. So now you have saltwater and amphibians. Puerto Rico doesn't have power, so the herpetologists on ground, can't communicate back, so they don't know, what they have, what they lost, So it's like, on an instrumental level, these animal rights groups are putting species at risk.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's actually what worries me more than anything, because in a nutshell, granted, as much as I love keeping these animals, I care about them being in the wild more than anything. And if,
right.
Especially something like this bill, Ryan McVeigh brought it up on Dave's podcast, they make this whitelist, blacklist, and we discover a new species on some rare island, we won't be able to work with it because it wasn't there before the list. And that's the scary part. Like this, if something like this were to go through, the zoos aren't going to be able to do their projects no more. The venom labs aren't going to be able to do their work no more. Like the trickle down effect, and that's the education that I think really needs to be put out there, is like how our industry actually affects the entire world as a whole, because it's more than just people keeping pets at their house.
So let me stop there, because I think I just had a light come on in my head. How many, and I don't want to point a finger at anyone in particular, but how many like free handlers, like with more than 100,000 subs, have done a video about the thing that's going on with the Lacey Act right now? How many of them are using a huge platform to get the message out about that? I would be very interested to know. I do not follow these people.
So I know one did for sure.
Okay.
Will Nace put one out right away.
Is he a free handler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I just looked up Tyler Nolan, and he put one out 9 hours ago.
Okay.
But
no, I'm checking Chandler's now. Yep, Chandler also put one out. All of them did that. The ones that I follow and respect. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of them out there that because let me just clarify one thing. I don't follow and have respect for everyone that's out there popping free handling videos on YouTube. That just like when we were referring to the music, they're not all created equal, and they're not all out the same message. Someone like Chandler, I have a lot of respect for, because the other things that he's doing on his platform, in my eyes, are far superior and more important than a little bit of negativity from some of the other things he does. But yeah, to answer that question, they did.
I was just kind of curious, because it's kind of like if you take someone with like a certain size platform, like I kind of think the larger your platform, the larger your responsibility to your audience. Now, I still feel like we get the unfair shaft on a lot of things because, like, okay, do you remember Joe? This is probably before your time, probably before Max's time. But do you guys know who Evel Knievel was?
Of course, I know who Evel Knievel is.
Okay, if the guy is going to jump his motorcycle across the Grand Canyon like he did in '79 or something, of course the TV is going to put on a disclaimer. This is a dangerous stunt. Don't try this at home. This, and the other. But somehow, if a kid took his motorcycle and tried to jump, some canyon by his house or something and killed himself, he would get the blame for that, for being stupid, for imitating Evel Knievel. Whereas you get into the snake world and stuff working with exotic animals, I get the feeling that, someone, and once again, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to point fingers at any one particular person, but someone will say, well, I can free handle a cobra because he does it. And that, to me, is this really dangerous impasse. Now, is it fair? No. Should we be judged by the same standards everybody else is? To some degree, yes. But at the same time, like, I know if I play ice hockey, I know I can get in a fight and lose teeth. I can get hit by a puck. I can take a blade to the throat. I mean, that happened to a kid in Canada 2 weeks ago. A kid died on the ice playing ice hockey.
Dang.
Playing college ice hockey. But at the same time, these things get passes. Venomous snakes, they're not going to get a pass.
Right.
I don't see it. And so that was, my question wasn't accusatorial. My question was, do any of these people with these huge platforms, are they using it to speak out about this very thing we're talking about?
Right.
And you answered that question for me, so that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, no, I went through one comment section, and like I don't know, like I was surprised to not see, anyone like point, what I was actually pretty happy to see is like not a lot of people saying, well, you're the reason for this bill, because of how you handle this animal. It is like it is more united, because it's like we have our quarrels, and it's like, we should self-police better, but it's like, okay, well, let's address this right now.
Right. No, there's you know who else I was curious about, because to that point, here once, I want to check something real quick. I'm curious. See, and to that point, if you go to like a platform, which I absolutely love and adore, good friend of mine, you go to someone that has one of the second biggest followings, that does everything right, and they put out nothing about it. It's crazy, right?
Crazy. Imagine
So that's what like confuses me sometimes, is the ones that get the biggest hate sometimes put in the most effort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at Ohio, the big cat, and and it's like one of the biggest proponents of it. What's his stupid name?
Wayne Pacelli?
No, Jack Hanna.
Jack Hanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jack Hanna, he ended up becoming a victim of the own laws he got passed to where he couldn't work with the animals. It's like, and he acted so surprised, and it's like, well, these laws are for everyone.
I'm glad actually that you brought that up, because that does kind of help to your guys' side of it, to show that one person can change everything, because that guy pretty much single-handedly changed the law in Ohio.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm happy to have Sean Trimpock around. He's like he's a good dude, but but the fact that he lost a lot of money and he had to leave Ohio, like on some dude's inflated ego, and like it's just
I've known quite a few people that were in Ohio when all that went down, and they've had to move to Florida or
Texas, yeah.
And I just tell them, don't worry, it's better down here anyway. I mean, anything north of Kansas, no offense, Joe, but it's too dang cold.
I don't disagree. I hate the cold. Everyone thinks I like the cold because I live in Wisconsin.
He just likes
My
the
wife
cheese.
likes the cold. I fucking hate the cold. I bitch about it from the second it gets here until the second it leaves. I count the seconds down. I hide in my reptile shop where it's 82 degrees because fuck that shit. I joke with everyone down there when you guys hit 35. I'm like, oh, that's not even that cold. But when I'm saying it's negative 35 degrees, I'm usually down in my reptile room where it's 82, like talking about what it's like out there. I ain't going and experiencing it. I hate it.
And the flip side of that is you guys get a half-inch of snow where you live. It doesn't shut your entire city down.
No,
Right. Our infrastructure is not built for it.
Right.
So this is a fun fact for you guys. Our schools don't even shut down until it hits negative 30. And the only reason they shut the school down is because our diesel school buses won't start in temperatures that low. If the school buses will start, you're going to school around here. It sucks. Like, they don't even announce our school closure until like 4 a.m. when they go to start the buses. If the buses won't start, school's closed.
I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch the news, see if my school went across the bottom of that freaking news channel. That's just how it should be.
Now they just send a message to your phone.
Yeah. Get text alerts.
Yeah, remember when you used to be upset that U2 put their album on your phone? Now it's anything.
Right.
This is true.
My Alexa's right there. I'm about to get ads for U2's album.
Well, gang, it's been real. It's been fun, and it's been real fun. I'm going to have to dive off of here. So, guys, sub Joe's channel, sub Max's channel. Good stuff on Max's channel.
Both of his channels.
If you want to.
Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and hop off too, so Joe, you can wrap it up.
Yeah, we're going to, as soon as you guys
it's been a great discussion. I mean, and I could
wrap it up.
I could sit down and have a beer and a couple beers and a long discussion with you guys anytime. So,
yeah, no, this has been a great live. I appreciate both of you guys for hopping on here. It's been a good conversation. I think people listening learned a lot and got a lot of different sides and opinions and views. Because, like my whole thought process on all this is besides the laws, we need to get down to what keeps recycling these from coming up and work on that, because constantly sticking millions of dollars into attorneys to fight this is becoming a problem if we can get to the root of it. And as the discussion went today,
they got to buy their yachts somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they can't buy me a yacht.
Yeah. But all right, guys, will you all take it easy? And
you too.
Bless you.
Right,
see you guys. Thanks for having us, Joe.
No problem. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Good to see you, Max.
All right, guys. We had an amazing live tonight. I know it's a little bit different than what everyone's used to. Generally, we're getting all excited, pulling stuff out. But I felt that this, with everything going on, this was necessary to get to the brass tacks of what this bill is all about and what's causing it, and go back and forth. I think we had some great conversation. Thanks, everyone, for coming to the live. Everyone that's in here, sub to everyone. Check out everyone's videos. Go and get your USARK membership. Donate. Do what you can. I'll see you guys. I should have a short coming out tomorrow, and then my main video on Friday. Otherwise, anyone that's just here for the lives, I'll see you next week, Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Love you guys.